But overall, you want to watch it. There'll be a million co-streamers and obviously different streamers like Alan and Snoody and maybe not you, Skip, streaming their perspective as well.
I'll stream, but I will not talk during the game, so it's going to be pretty boring.
And I think EMEA will clear because the NA streams I've been watching, they have been doing some questionable stuff in PvE. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Don't Talk If You Don't Know EMEA edition. This time, a lot to cover. I'm Impetuous Panda, of course, your host for today's episode. Joined once again by my co-host, Alanzq. He's back. We have a very special guest in Skipaeus, a legend in the EMEA scene, but especially with a 5th place performance at Worlds in this set 10. And Snoodyboo, a legend in TFT in the Spanish community, a leader when it comes to streaming and playing, competing, and really doing it all, in my opinion. Also, half German, if you didn't know. Starting with you, Alan, though, how's your 2 weeks been since set 10 and with PV launch?
Man, the set was absolutely crazy. The new set, but even though I played just like what we have a week, 2 weeks, I don't even know how long because I'm playing every day for 12 hours. This set, it's absolutely best set of all time. Imagine if they take a feature, they implement a feature that you hate, and when they remove it, you absolutely love the set right away.
I can agree with you on that. I think I'm on the same boat. Maybe not. I don't hate headliners, but it definitely took away some enjoyment from the set for me. So set 11 encounters, maybe not as warping. We'll talk about set 11 a lot, though. Near the end of the show, we'll be going through a lot of different tier lists, and we'll do a PvE or set 11 masterclass as well. But before that, we're going to talk, of course, about Worlds, and someone that is here to do exactly that is Skipaeus. You had your best set ever in TFT. We'll look at the power rankings later to really define why you were so dominating this set. But how was your Worlds experience? How has it come down been from that whole experience now that we're a week and a half past that?
Well, the Worlds experience was nice, kind of. The come down wasn't that pretty. I mean, so immediately following the finals, I had the feeling of hoping that this was going to be the set where our finalists still being trash. And it wasn't the case. And, that feeling kind of remained. But it's not horrible. It's bearable.
With the Worlds, I think is not something to feel bad about, no? Or do you always have the ambition to be the absolute best?
No, I mean, I just choked super hard. I was definitely better than 5th at that tournament.
And I guess maybe being so close makes it that much more painful when you can't actually do what you maybe won't have a chance to do again with how high variance CT sometimes it is and how hard it is to qualify, especially from EMEA. But we'll get into the qualification to Worlds later on as well, because we got some big news yesterday, a lot of changes, and we'll talk all about it. I think it's very, very impactful for our region, especially. And Snoody, looking at you, I know you were co-streaming Worlds. I know you were, with your community really enjoying the show, despite, as usual, no Spanish players qualifying all the way. How was the experience for you? Was it fun to watch? Did you like the general level of play between the region, between EMEA as well?
I mean, it's always fun to watch competitive TFT. It's a different kind of thing, right? Because I also enjoy competing, but we're used to it, as you said, in Spain, to just be in the observer slot. I was really thinking that we had a shot at having 2 people from EMEA going to finals this time, but I guess it just didn't happen. Still very proud of you, Skip, though. We were cheering on for you.
And Dalitson had a very close run in regionals as well, so I was there with you, Snoody. I was watching the games on the side when I wasn't casting. I wasn't playing the main broadcast, checking the Spanish co-stream, checking your co-stream to see how we would be doing. But in the end, we got so close, but also it felt like so far.
But before we move on, I have a quick question here for Skip. Mm-hmm. You always go on about this inner fight with Spanish players. What's happening with that? I mean, you were saying that you were super hyped to go to finals because you could meet Safo there. Is it really the thing that fuels you to get to the best level, or what's happening there?
Right. So, I mean, the Gias kind of became a meme, right? The fact of the matter is, I genuinely do not remember how the Skip versus Spain rivalry started.
Oh, I remember. I'll tell you. So it was set 8 Super Bowl, I believe, where you tweeted some shit about the Spanish team being bad. And this is a set where Spain went on strike because they were not happy with the way the format was run. They did not play the Master Cup or the final of Spain, like the TRC final. And that's what qualified to Super Bowl. So we sent, on paper, a very weak team. And you were saying, you're going to outplace the Spanish team, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, we both teams did shit, but we beat you by a few points in the 4v4 format.
You did,
and that's where you riled up all the anger from the Spanish community.
Is it really?
Then, that's it. I think so.
I didn't think I would kick them down. I thought that I did that the set after they had the strike, but maybe I mistimed it.
I think it was
Anyway.
a 1-2 punch. I think it was the
All right.
multiple hits exchanged between you and me as well. I caster cursed you a few times when you talk shit about Spain.
All right. They tanked it well. It's fine.
Before we move on from the intros, I want to actually mention as well, because I remember with you, Snooty, we had an interview with you on main broadcast, and you actually mentioned Skipaeus, because you also had, I guess but also I think more had in the past a very creative playstyle where you didn't really follow the rules of the meta and try to do your own thing. But in this interview, you mentioned that you didn't have success, but a player like Skipaeus always did. Do you still feel that? Is Skipaeus someone that you kind of still look up to in the way he plays TFT?
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. I mean, specifically in the sense that I have been dedicating less time each year throughout in TFT overall. So I can see them shining in those kind of play styles, and I just keep watching them because I don't know. It's fun to watch in the background, have multiple stream open. And since they don't really talk that much anyway, so it's just like a POV kind of analyzing their playstyle kind of thing. And it's interesting.
We're going to talk about sets and worlds. We're going to look at a few assets leading into worlds, who our reps were, general feelings with the four of us in terms of who was going. Skipaeus, you're going to obviously give us a lot more insight into that experience. So we'll move into the asset box now and see our 4 reps, 4 worlds, who we sent after the EMEA regionals. And that was, of course, Skipaeus as maybe not our front runner when it comes to favorites coming into the event. I think Solby, being the EMEA champion, had a lot going for him. Also German champion, so 2 tournaments in a row. A lot of success. Skipaeus, you finished second at EMEA regionals. And we had the French duo of Jedusor and Volta. I was very confident overall in the team we were sending. I think Volta, there was some false confidence there because of the way he played at regionals, where he was only really playing Riven, Heartsteel, and doing Volta things in terms of high rolling in odd spots at 4-1 and still finding success. Did you feel the same, Skip? Did you feel these were the 4 best players at regionals?
No, I think me and Jedusor were definitely the top 2, but I am definitely, if I had to, at the start of regionals, had to pick the 4 people to represent EU, I would not put Salve or Volta in there.
Is it a playstyle thing? Is it a skill thing? What do you think didn't convince you about the performances in terms of qualifying to Worlds?
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed to me like there were stronger players available. I would have picked Stinar or Ging or KC Double or like a bunch of people.
Maybe White Jungler and Classics, I guess,
Yeah, or White Jungler. Yeah, exactly. Or even Dark Hydra. I don't know. I just watched a little bit of Salve and Volta and just wasn't very impressed.
Putting my brain to that, like if you take 20 games of those 2 players and you would pick different like sequence of the games, like they easily could be out, because the reason why is just they're playing a very high variance. They play very high variance of TFT, and it happened that regionals, and the way they played, it just hit in a specific, like the winning type of series of the games, playing those specific comps. That is like started pretty much just purely Heartsteel, and he hit, and you could see the difference on the Worlds, where day 1 he completely missed a bunch of times, and that could have happened the same in the regionals, and then day 2 he actually hit. So you see like how it varies when it's actually multiple days, and it takes more games as a sample size.
I think it's also part of the meta, right? Heartsteel was incredibly strong, and leaning into that as a playstyle, in some cases, maybe was the correct play. We saw Milala playing a lot of it, Degree playing a lot of it, just maybe they were the ones that had success, and they had plan Bs in other games where they weren't having a Heartsteel opener. But I agree. I think, especially watching Volta's games, and I think Volta's a strong player, of course. He's proven it so many times. But his playstyle was very much first or eighth, full risk. If he misses a 4-1 on the ribbon roll downs, he's, dead last every game. And he had some crazy comebacks that I think he's the only one that gets away with it. I don't know if it's a plot armor thing or what, but I could not believe every single game. Like, okay, again, Volta's doing it. Same thing in set 9 with like the tome of traits popping and always getting Demacia and certain things as well. So it's a playstyle. I mean, if it works all the time, something must be there, right? It's not just luck or variance.
So I have an interesting follow-up question here for Skip, now that we have him here. You said yourself that you consider it to be a top 2 player in this EMEA regionals. Like, do you think if there was a redo tournament like 5 times of this event, you would have qualified like maybe 4 to 5 times? Or what's your level of confidence in that sense?
In a 32-player tournament, 4 is a bit much. Maybe 3 times, I think. I think 3 times is a pretty reasonable estimate.
Cool. And this was also Skipaeus, you had a very different game plan. I think there's no one that can say, oh, he had, luck or high variance, whatever it is, because you did not play Heartsteel at all, I think, did you play it all, or maybe until the last day? You didn't play at all, and you played like no rerolls. Oh no, you played like 3 games of Hearthstone, but like no reroll the whole tournament, no? Or like 1 reroll at the end?
Oh, in the EMEA regionals?
Yeah, in regionals, yeah.
So day 1 and day 2, I believe I did not play any reroll and maybe 1 Heartsteel game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Yeah. In the finals, I played reroll a bunch. I got any 2 times. So
yeah, true.
The playstyle definitely.
As we analyze like the comp stats and the playstyles, you were like stark different with everyone else and still finding success.
Yeah. Well, because I think everyone had like a slightly wrong read on the meta.
Go ahead.
Even there is like, let's say, a couple of the lobby tries to play Heartsteel, then your adjustment is way better because like you're just gonna outplace on average 3 out of those 4 players, and they could easily just all of them miss, or they would be just low enough, or they grief with each other. Then like your playstyle just fits more into the lobby. Obviously, the less players, the better it is Heartsteel.
Yeah, exactly. Just having an HP lead in that sort of, meta where 3-4 people are trying to stabilize on low HP with the same Zed and Ezreal units. It's just like, I believe in the except for the first game of the finals, I did not get a bot 2 in regionals, and I think that's definitely a playstyle thing.
You're not taking any risks. From the 4 players that did qualify to Worlds, 3 of you went to level Berlin. Once again, we had an EMEA kind of global hub or regional hub for playing there. 1 player was missing. I think we can guess which player that is, looking at this picture here.
I see all 4 players, so I don't know what you mean.
How was the experience, Skip, being, with the other players? Did you guys prep together at all during the time in Berlin or before that even?
We didn't have any dedicated practice together. I mean, there is a Scrim Discord server with 32 people in it, so you end up playing a bunch of games together, but it's nothing like, EU-specific study group or anything like that. In the level up, we just, the 1 free day we had of preparation, we just played scrims just like we did from home before. So nothing different in terms of preparation. And I mean, the vibes were kind of nice until, Salve said noises coming from 3 meters away from me because he was not doing that great during the first and second day. But, I was definitely disincentivized from pinging him every single game, even that he was punching distance away.
Was that fear? That you would be in the line of fire?
But it's not, it's fun being a dog with a fence between you and the other dog. It's fun. It's better than not having the fence. It's true.
Okay. I mean, you've seen the videos of the dogs kind of barking at each other, and then the fence goes up, and they just stay quiet.
Exactly. Just put the fence down. We're having fun.
Talking about Worlds and going into the vibes after day 1, obviously it was a very bad start for Salvi. Someone that I think I put as a favorite to win it all because I think he leaned into the playstyle of the pads and had a lot of success with it, despite the variance obviously could bite him in the end. And Volta as well. How were the vibes day 2? Did you think their mental they recouped in time? Do you think it was too difficult? What do you think went wrong? Was it just a high variance playstyle for both of them?
I wasn't paying too much attention to their games, so I can't really say what specifically went wrong for them. I did think that going into the Worlds, their playstyle was just too restricted to be, and so was vulnerable to bad RNG. But I'm not sure if there were specific misplays or if it really was just bad luck. Because Volta was in the other booth, I pretty much didn't. I mean, I said hi to him, but I mean, I came there to play, and then as soon as we ended, I ate my dinner and went back to the hotel. So I didn't really hang out with people all that much.
And I will say, I did try to get you guys to prep together. I made a channel in the EMEA server. I pinged all of you, and I think only Skipaeus answered, and he said, "What's a prep group? XDD." And no one else spoke in this channel again. So I am going to give up trying to assist you guys in getting to talk to each other and maybe, share some thoughts. Maybe, Salve, your playstyle is not going to work out at Worlds. It's too high variance instead of saying after the fact. But, it is what it is. I try my best. Maybe if we get a full French group, they'll prep together.
Okay, do you want to go into the, why are prep groups a meme and, why it's not worth it? Do you want to go into that?
Yes, we want to.
Okay, so
what you take?
Firstly, I want to say that there are some things that study groups are excellent for and should be used for. So firstly, it's collecting bugs. It's super important to collect bugs. You need to know them ASAP. During the set 10, all the Lucian bugs were super impactful. Urgot critting without IE, Zed critting without IE. Like, all of those bugs are Lulu mana locking with more than 40% attack speed, right? Like, these bugs were super impactful. And if you don't know them, you're just at a massive disadvantage. And that's something you can do as a group, right? It's just a parallel activity. You come across a bug, you list it, and everyone from the group knows, and they help you out as well in this way. So that's the first thing. And second thing, where it can help, is something that's a lot of labor that it can save you, and that's template positioning. So if there are high impact champions like Jarvan or in the previous set or Thresh in this one, where you need to know specific positionings with different numbers of backliners and frontliners, how to avoid CC on your one or two main carries. Mm-hmm. That's just something you can get a picture of, memorize it, and then when you roll down on 4-1, when you don't have time to scout around, you just place your units in this way, and it helps you out, right? So what study groups are great for is like very specific tech that doesn't really need explanation, it just needs memorization. That's what it's great for. But once we get to things like watching your VODs with someone else, like, okay, honestly, in 1 hour of watching, on average, how many useful things is the person watching with me gonna say?
If
in
you're
an hour,
someone,
like one.
But you watch like
with someone who's also made it to Worlds, though, I mean, there's a higher chance. All four of you made it, mostly with different playstyles, especially you being very consistent with the rest. I think you could have helped them understand a lot of very high-level things about TFT and about this set specifically going into Worlds that they would have not considered because they're playing an entirely different playstyle or just haven't played, There's always going to be these niche things that you don't think about that you're able to share through that experience.
So we're watching VOD, right? Let's say we're watching VOD of my game. I don't know, Solve the Uncle or something. So firstly, he needs to notice something that I don't notice, right? Because I'm going to notice a lot of mistakes as well, right? So he has to notice a mistake that I haven't noticed. He has to provide a solution that I wouldn't have thought of. And he needs to argue for it sufficiently to convince me that his solution or his line is better than what I did or something else that I thought of, right? And like, you have to pass so many checks before something useful happens that, like, realistically, I'm not getting useful things said to me more than once an hour.
Okay, but
That's what I think.
I have like a counter argument for you there, Skip. I mean, I know that you had a different strategy to other players in the sense that you didn't play many reroll comps or hard steel. But like the main way we usually learn the game is like ladder experience. So you're only playing your game, right? And you're not even looking at the other 7 point of views. So I get your point, but like the most of the time we're spending learning TFT, it's just our narrow point of view. And when you're VOD reviewing with other people, it's like 5 people together at 2 times speed, watching a lot of concentrated information. So, I mean, it has to be like a wider amount of information to analyze together, right? In that sense.
Yeah, just VOD review by myself. I watch different players VOD review other people by myself. That was part of my Worlds prep.
Even the example how I think the study group work, like it's like watching VODs is about expanding the lines you can take. And doing it efficiently, it should be like one player. Let's say there are 3 players in a group. Each player is watching different VODs for the efficiency. And if there is a specific VOD, because you have to browse through them, there is a lot of content. And like once there is an interesting game or like the line to pick up, then like this can be saved up and there can be like compiled, like let's say 5-10 VODs to review together later on and study the specific line. And it's about the browsing and like compiling those all VODs together and then going over them. And like just and this way you can widen up your lines you can take on a specific stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, roll downs especially, and then how often you should, based on the strength of the lobby and based on the meta, roll down on, let's say, level 6, level 7, level 8, which are also like very debateful things, and like having different arguments for that is very helpful. And like you need to have a decent size of data of high-level gameplay to be able to tell if it is successful line to roll on 6, let's say, to roll on 7, or it's better to just push level, for example, and roll on 8 because you can hire, like easier, you're gonna hit, there are more viable lines at 8 that are uncontested versus rolling on 6 when, for example, if you decide to roll on 6 or 7, there is like one heavily contested line on 8 that like you don't want to gamble your game, let's say hard steel, and that's why it's worth hence running for 6 on 7 to stabilize. And it's just like that was the studying group are for.
So like, summing up, it just speeds up the way efficiency that you could process information TFT, because TFT at the end of the day you have to play a lot to get into all these different situations to then decide in one single chance what the correct decision is without knowing all the branching decisions you could have made otherwise. And a prep group with multiple games being reviewed or played just helps with this. It speeds it up infinitely, and you have way more accuracy around what the correct decision is and what other possible decisions are. Even if they're wrong, the critical thinking around why people are thinking about those other decisions also helps you improve your understanding of the game and, why to pick a certain augment or itemize, etc. It's like a huge downside. I
had like a final
I don't know. Sorry, just to interrupt. Like everything Alan said is nice, but honestly, like a more efficient way to spend my time seems to be just staring into a tactics.tool Steam builder and just thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're a special player. I think that the one thing, the argument you can have is that you're definitely very different to everyone else, and how you think about the game. And that could be contrasting as well. If you're so different, maybe things that others can offer you does not really make sense or doesn't really help your playstyle, the way you approach the game. I get that, but I'm not thinking just about you, Skipaeus. I think in general, and I will continue trying every world to get all 4 of you to prep together, because I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And then we wonder why EMEA, not you, Skipaeus, but in general, doesn't do so well at Worlds. I think it's just we have disadvantages that don't make any sense. But anyways, let's move on to the actual Worlds events and Skipaeus' day 3 run, because the Nal will be here for 2 hours, and we have a lot to cover today. We did have Skipaeus, of course, finishing off really strong on day 2 with really, I think, clean play, and just overall, I was very confident in your performances for day 3. Coming into day 3, really good start. The West was triumphing over the East with the 2 American players, yourself and Relic as well, doing really well. And coming into those final few games, coming into the Malala game at the end when you were in Czech as well, it was 3 different players here. What we're seeing in Czech, you were 3rd place, ZGW, the Chinese player, and Malala at the top. What was your thoughts around that game, that last game especially? When Malala raised the stakes, I could not believe it, because I thought, Relic is going to grief him. He's on 19 points. He doesn't care what position he goes. No one griefed Malala, and then what the Forge. What was your general opinion on the game? What did you think? Oh, it's kind of slipping away from me.
I mean, I messaged actually Alan, I'm just playing for points. I'm playing for 2nd or 3rd, so nothing changes for me except that the only gameplay change is that I cannot raise the stakes because someone will definitely grief me. Mm-hmm. And turns out that I was incorrect in that assessment. But no, I mean, the game was slipping away from me because of a few poor decisions and questionable stage 3 board that I tried to get to level 8 with. Mm-hmm. It was a game where I definitely could have top 4'd with slightly better play, but yeah, going into it, I didn't really change my plan at all. I wasn't planning to go for a 1st place or anything like that. I think checkmate format is a massive meme and you never go for it.
I do also think that your projection I forgot what your 2-1 augment was, but passing the game, I could immediately tell that Malala and Zia had a way better spot to win, just the way their game was going, and you had a spot where you were fighting for your life to maybe top 4. You were not really in until Jazz Emblem happened and a few other things in stage 4 and 5 where maybe you were clawing in, but still you were so far behind in resources and in projection. Was that kind of hard to deal with? Was there a lot of pressure knowing that, and the other 2, especially the ones that are doing so well, when I think they were 1st and 2nd, the whole stage 2 and 3 in the standings?
Oh, I mean, having a bad spot in TFT is always difficult. It wasn't made more difficult by the fact that it's World Finals. I mean, it was just, I didn't have all that many resources, so I needed to consider carefully how to use them. Didn't use them all that well, so that's why I ended 7th, but yeah.
I wanted to bring the point, because there is a lot of people wondering, why people didn't grief probably Milala, because he raised the stakes. As you mentioned, you assume that's what's gonna happen, right? We talked about it even before the game. And I mentioned it on the watch party, that people, there is 2 types of people. One person that will be playing, that's a very minor part of the people that will be partaking in the event like this. They will be playing only for win, only for title. They only care about winning. Yeah. But the majority of competitive players are playing for the placement because the prize money ladder is so significant, it's not worth to play for win now because you are gambling. There is no point gambling when you can just play for the higher prize jump.
Now, I'll correct myself. I'm not saying that Relic, had to grief there. I was just surprised he didn't, because I think he had the option to. And like you're saying, Alan, if you're someone that, I'm not saying you don't care about money. Obviously, it's a life-changing amount of money, so like, really get both sides. I think with title in the set 9 World Championship was the same thing. Could be playing to grief, or you could just play for placement. So I get that side of the argument as well. I was just surprised that no one was able to, without fucking up their own game, somehow stopping Nola from raising the stakes there and cashing out.
But we've had those kind of scenarios like forever since World came along.
Exactly.
I mean, and they never really stop it in checkmate. It just happened like casually when Kevin Parker stopped Broccoli, right, in Las Vegas. But it's never really like intentional targeting and going to grief you. And it's been happening forever.
You can highlight the biggest possible response to something like raising the stakes, but it almost rarely happens because of these reasons. So I get there's two arguments to it. I was just surprised that first Malala had the balls to take the risk of, oh, no one's going to actually stop me here, because they could have, and it would be completely their rights, and it wouldn't be penalized or anything. It would be maybe even correct if Relic decided, hey, I'm playing for the win. I think I can do it in the next game, for example.
His spot was very specific, because even if he raises the stakes, it's his highest possibility of winning, and if he gets griefed, there is a good chance he still can go second.
Yeah.
So it was win-win. There is no chance he doesn't raise in this spot, because like worst case scenario, he's most likely going second, and very likely if no one griefs him, he's going first.
Yeah. And obviously the bigger thing I think was the Forge, the raise of stakes in the end didn't look as impactful considering the Forge and considering the 3-4 Sniper's Focus he rolled. We've seen a lot of low rolls with the Forge. When you saw
very risky.
The board, what was your opinion? What was your initial reaction to seeing the items you got from it, the artifacts?
Oh, I knew instantly that we was going to win the game, but so I just knew that the tournament's over and I have to maximize my placement. But I mean, that was the case before the game even started, so nothing really changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, while I was casting, I didn't want to, say it was over, but the moment I saw the artifacts and
it was super over.
Double Eternal Windred on either side, 4 snipe, I'm like, what the heck is this, man?
Guys, you're saying that, but if you got like 2 worse items, did you see last fights? Like 2 camped boards, like 1 less sniper focus, 1 more frontline items, and this fight would be going completely different. Like he absolutely high rolled the items. Mm-hmm. If he gets 2 different items, more frontline or more backline, suddenly those fights are looking completely different.
And I'm not saying he's a high roller. You have to put yourself in a situation where you take that risk. It ended up paying off. I think, again, it's like top 10%, maybe top 5% of possible combinations that you could get. And it's what he needed to win even, it looked like. But yeah, overall, exciting to cast. And I think it was so close in the end between all of you. But from the moment the game started, I think Skipaeus, you had just a much harder time actually contest for the win. And that just makes it so it's, I guess, really difficult mentally also to kind of know that and already see it happening before your eyes for the rest of the game. But overall, being honest, are you happy with your performance? I know you were very close to winning out and you were in check coming to the last game, but are you content with the season you had, with the showing you gave internationally, and the way a lot of people from NA, from Latam, from Brazil, from other regions see you now as a player?
No, I think my performance was trash, at least in the finals. I think day 1 and day 2, I think I did great. I think in the finals I played awful. Like it must have been hard to watch. Genuinely.
What was the cause for that? Do you think there's anything that changed?
Yeah, I don't know why. That's kind of tricky because, that could happen again. So it's something I'll have to address, but I'm not sure why.
Do you go back on your games? Like, if you don't know what went wrong, do you analyze your own votes?
Yes, but the question isn't what mistakes I made. The mistakes I made were very obvious. The question is why did I make those mistakes that I ordinarily wouldn't do, that I didn't do in day 1 and day 2. So, I do have some rituals between every game, at the start of every game, to try to get me to the same space.
It has rituals.
Yeah.
And you got
there's nothing mystical about the rituals, right? But my playlist is 3 songs long. I play that between games.
Okay.
I stretch at the start of every game. I have a mantra. But there's nothing mystical about that. It's just standard sports psychology stuff, I think. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I just played in the finals very badly, and it's not exactly clear what to do to address that at this point. But maybe future tournaments will uncover something.
You think it's pressure based, or do you really not know any?
It's hard to imagine it being anything else, right? Mm-hmm. What else would it be?
Assumption.
I mean, I was sick. That's the only other thing that it could possibly be.
Does playing from the, let's say, bootcamp from the level of Berlin impact at all? Did you not feel comfortable playing there? Do you feel more comfortable playing from home?
It's really not much of a difference for me. I've played a bunch of LANs in my life, and it was never even the slightest issue for me. And, as I said, I think I played day 1 and day 2 great. And that, I played that from level up as well. So that's not the factor.
It might have just been combined finals on top of not playing Premier Plays, because, when some things just combine with each other, then, it might be an issue eventually.
Maybe, but I don't think so. But then again, I cannot get a concrete explanation why anyway. So maybe it is that, but it doesn't look like it to me.
You can resolve it for future for sure.
Probably a mix of factors. But yeah, hopefully you can resolve it. I think it's important. And like you said, you don't always have that many chances to be in a spot like that. No matter how good you are at the game, TFT isn't going to be variance. You can't guarantee results like making it to Worlds, even, especially in the EMEA where it's so competitive for the 4 slots. Or even making regionals is difficult for many players.
Now we have more.
We'll get into that a little bit later, Alan. Thank you for spoiling great news for EMEA at least.
I couldn't resist.
I don't want the chat to devolve with NA already complaining and yapping about.
I love the Twitter, man. I had such a great joy in the past few days reading Twitter. I just couldn't resist.
Before set 11, before new stuff that was announced yesterday, let's move into the set 10 power rankings and a little bit of the general impressions of set 10 and the results. We had a lot of newcomers really popping off, like Gedizor, for example. We'll talk a lot about him as we move through the list. I think a lot of players had their first big set. Blasted Moon as well had a really good showing. GFC is very consistent. We had return players like Shirkane getting rank 1 again after not being around for a long time. But let's start off with number 15 on the power rankings, voted by all the EMEA judges. This is the conclusion of all of set 10. We're wrapping up the results across ladder. This is number 1, but we're going to start with 15.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, that's not a surprise.
Okay,
Let's be honest.
We didn't see anything. It's not a surprise, so let's not do much of a spoiler. Starting off, Ging, a player who we know historically has been really, really good in EMEA. I think had for what is expected from him, a very poor set outside of ladder. Did not have the best GFCs, didn't go to Vegas, but had a fairly strong EMEA finals at least, middle of the pack. But yeah, stats of the tournament were not great. I think just had a bad sets, maybe didn't gel with headliners. On ladder, he's been a beast. He hit a really high peak. His level of playing consistent ladder play has not been bad, so it's not like he's just gone missing. It's just didn't work out in tournaments. You guys probably played with him a lot. Snoody, any impressions on getting this set, on his performance?
Took him a bit longer to get up there than usual. I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
because usually you see these guys like a second, third week, you can't even catch up to them. And he was the guy taking 8th since my lobby, so that was a weird feeling, because that's usually me. But yeah.
Skip, in your experience playing with Ging, especially near the end of the season, I know you were in the top 20 most of the time around the last 2 months. Any thoughts about his play style, about just what you think did not work out for him in tournaments?
No, overall he seems like a solid player to me. Nothing that would especially catch my eye. He did have one really rough patch, which grieved his snapshots, but he recovered really well from that. So I don't know. I imagine it's just bad variance on GSCs. I think he was on ladder. He's very strong.
Exactly. No.
Very patch dependent. You can clearly tell the difference that Chosen's and in combination with different patch. He was trying to play specifically his favorite comp on the patches where that comp was really bad. For those who don't know, just disco disease. There was patch where it was good, but when he was contested, which was not ending up well for him, and then when it was not contested, the comp wasn't that good. He was very stuck on it for a long time.
Something I do want to make note of is that Ging was one of the first players I noticed in EMEA that was playing a lot of Vex, when Vex was very broken before Six Executioner became one of the go-to metacomps and then got nerfed. Even started the sets the first 3-4 weeks during Wild Rumble, he was playing a lot of Vex carry when she was very broken with a huge stun and damage and a move frontline and having a lot of success with it. So in that sense, I think he had a good read on some things, but I agree. I think it could be variance. I think we saw his play on ladder, and I saw his streams a lot as well, and didn't seem like he was out of touch with the meta that much. But yeah, I think we expect a lot more from Ging, so it is sad to see him at 15. I think he also knows that he's proven it so many times. He can be a lot stronger, and the pattern of him making worlds every even set has been broken in set 10, because he always made 4, 6, 8. I don't know what the reason was behind that, but it didn't happen, unfortunately, in this set number 10. So hopefully he can bounce back in set 11. Moving on to number 14 in the rankings, we have Cambiz. And I think a similar story to Ging. had a strong start at Vegas, had a strong start at GSC1, but then I think he disconnected a little bit in the middle of because he was already qualified through ladder, like almost guaranteed through ladder to the regionals. And I think he never really was able to connect back with his level of play, both at GSC2 and EMEA finals, as we saw. Any opinions, Snooty, on why that could have been? Because I was disappointed. He was one of the players that was...
I was actually quite surprised. This probably the explanation is probably, I guess, they were really into League at the time, like a double god challenger, and he was probably duo-queuing with him a lot. Yeah. But in the French finals, he was like one of the more interesting POVs regarding Heartsteel. He would do like raise the stakes in some very dangerous spots, like stage 4, 45 HP or something, pulling then off at 2 HP. I just think he got used to that, like the highest of the risk play styles, not regular Heartsteel. And then when that didn't work out for a few games, he just, I don't know, mental boomed or something, which can happen.
Was it the same path? Was it the path where they changed the stage 4 Heartsteel and then maybe he just couldn't adapt to that? Because they made the rewards much...
No, so they play... I don't know, because it felt like pretty much the same patch like the last month, right? I mean, some minor changes, but I don't think Heartsteel's changed that much. I just think he got used to that play style. And Double 61 was always playing the win streak style. He was always playing the lose streak style, and I just think it didn't work out.
Also, the Heartsteel generated in stage 4, if you're playing a very high risky play style and you're like at 1 life, the cash out doesn't actually make you strong enough every time to win out, whereas it did the patch before that, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, I get what
that could have been the change that impacted him a lot. I think he was one of the players going into regionals. There was some rumors with the French players, Camus is on really good form. He's going to be a favorite with the power rankings as well. Ended up, maybe just variance, but obviously 31st is not where we expect to see Camus. Do you have similar opinions, Skipaeus, when you played him in your lobbies?
Oh, you see, this segment is just generally difficult for me because I usually don't look at names of players. I just look at boards, unless it's someone that I'm in emoting and pinging war with, like Kevin. So I don't know. I have not. I mean, I've seen him play a lot, but I don't. I cannot connect the boards I saw to the player name.
And Camus is someone that historically Alan has had these very risky play styles, knowing set 8 when he had this massive tear. He was also playing a lot of losing a lot of HP early, like double as well, going down to 40 HP at 3-5, rolling down and then stabilizing the whole game and finding ways to cap out his board, etc. So it's surprising that this Heartsteel patch didn't really actually suit him into the results.
There is one major thing about the Heartsteel and those type of players, because when you practice and let's say play ladder and you take this as an example. For example, you can be greedier because lower cap of the board can stabilize you afterwards than against good players. Like if you're put into the pool of let's say 6 good players versus 3 good players. So it's less punishing to play Heartsteel when you don't hit or you hit below average. Mm-hmm. And then you can, as a player who plays mostly Heartsteel, you can get the overconfidence that you can play almost exclusively one comp and do well because you did that on a different level field.
I completely agree. I think the impact of not just the lobby, the tempo lobby, but just the level of play in terms of capping your boards really throws a wrench in a lot of plans when you're playing fully for Heartsteel. And we're only having this kind of sad tone around Camus' placement being 14th best in the EMEA because we expect that much more from someone that has grown into become one of the favorites, I think, every set, especially after set 8, with his super dominant run, the entire, winning GSC and winning the regionals as well. So I think also a player like Ging that they expect to do better. And I think could very much be in set, top 10 every single set, in my opinion.
So Alan, you mean to say that, a play style where you play a lot of Heartsteel, the exact opposite of Skip play style, is good at punishing bad lobbies, but is gonna get stopped when up against a stiff competition? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I think we've agreed on this point. The different segments we've had until now in the podcast. Looking at number 13 on the EMEA rankings, a player who may be a surprise to many if you have not been looking at the stats, if you have not been looking at the Skipaeus, for example, results. Consistent player, someone that has been around for a long time, but never really breaking into, I would say, even the A tier when it comes to, players people think about as favorites coming into tournaments. Has always been around, I think, even below the god when it comes to Portuguese player, even around second or third best Portuguese player. But DTIYDK Sparta had a really good set. I think we have to celebrate it. You can see the results here, 16th, 17th, 11th, very consistent in a region as competitive as EMEA. Not the highest ladder peak yet. I think he still has, some to grow in that to become an S-tier player. But looking at the average, looking at the top 4 percentage, the only thing that I think was not great is the win percentage. I think that may be leading heavily into not playing that risky play style. But still, huge props and congratulations to Digo for having a very good set and finishing 13th in EMEA. Agreed?
Yeah, it was definitely a great performance. To be fair, he was under my radar for a longer time. He popped at the EMEA first time, and now I start paying attention when we play a lot scrims on this set, and I can see that he learns fast and he adapts fast.
And the funny thing I want to mention as well about his win rate is that during the Scrim Invitational, the format was maybe a little bit incentivizing playing for wins because you had the lower placing games were not counted basically at the first 10. And he did really well playing a lot of Hearthstone and playing kind of very risky plays. So I'm very surprised that his overall stats don't really reflect this. And maybe that was just a one patch that he felt comfortable playing it for. But yeah, still I think a really good set. Snoody, did you have any games with Digaspard? Any thoughts on him as a player?
I mean, I don't really look at his name specifically. It's just I didn't know him much before this set, so not really.
Are you surprised to see him 13th or with these stats and rankings?
Not really. I mean, he's been crushing it this set. I just haven't been paying attention to it, I guess. Yeah.
He's the one person I was checking during tournaments as well because he's from Iberia after all, so I had to make sure that in GSC1 he was really, really close.
The only thing hurting your ego is Iberia overall. Is that what you're saying?
No. Tell the story properly. Let's.
Okay, right. So the story goes that in the deep woods of Bohemia, a traveler crone has placed a geas upon me, such that as long as I do not eat anything that comes from an animal, no Iberian shall defeat me. So although the rivalry seems to be mainly between me and Spain, the geas applies to Portuguese players too.
So definition, what is a geas? Because I found out later. I didn't know when we had the interview.
Right. So it's like an idiosyncratic taboo. It's a special type of curse which prohibits you from doing something, but as long as you observe that prohibition, it can grant you supernatural powers. Like
a two-sided curse, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And I found out because on the plane to Spain to cast Worlds, I started watching an anime called Jujutsu Kaisen. It turns out it's from this anime, it's not Skipaeus.
Oh no, it's from Irish mythology. It's from
really? Okay, well, it was referenced in this anime. I'm like, this is what he was talking about. 2 days later, it was perfect timing.
No. It's Cuchulainn gets killed because he eats a dog, which is his taboo. He is forbidden from eating dog.
No, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, we're done with Iberia. We're going to move on to number 12. Another player that had a return, Lecture Kane, had a 9th place at the Gazeless and Gadgets Rising Legends Finals. Did not really compete at a high level, and the sets after that was focused on casting. Has been a big part of the Francophone community, although he represents Belgium as his country. And that is I'm So Fresh. Had a really good run on ladder. Had 2 accounts in the top 10 for most of the latter half of the set. Didn't really have the success in GSC2, which was during the time he was top 10 on ladder and overall very hyped up. I remember he was very frustrated with the result. Didn't make day 2, just got day 1. But the very strong EMEA finals did make day 3. I think a lot of OG fans, knowing what he's done and he's played in the league as well, we're happy to see. Were you guys surprised seeing I'm So Fresh return?
Oh, he had solid run. You could clearly tell the difference when he had the time that he had double Smurf at top 5, top 1, top 5. Yeah. And it showed up with the results later into the regionals. And that bad run on the GSC too, but then made it back during the EMEA finals.
Yeah, getting day 1, I mean, it's 6 games, right? It's you can be really disappointed about that, but ultimately it is a high variance format. I personally place a lot of emphasis on ladder when ranking players.
Yeah, exactly.
My logic is that, if we traveled back in time 4 months and just, run it back, but with slightly different RNG, I'd probably put I'm So Fresh higher than 12th because I think he always makes it to EMEA finals just because he is so good on ladder, and from there he has a good shot of making it to Worlds.
I have to mention as a caveat as to why our judge panel is formed mostly by very high ranking and historical EMEA players who value ladder play a lot and value their experiences playing against these players throughout the entire set. Which is why you might see some players with very bad tournament stats or who have not lived up to expectations still being highly ranked because they've had very good ladder performances, and it's just, as you're mentioning, Skipaeus, that has a sample size, it doesn't work out in your favor. you have the same opinion, Studi, overall?
I mean, every time this guy gets back to try hard in TFT, he just makes EMEA. So if he's around, he's smurfing. If he's not, he's just chilling, I guess. So that's impressive.
And overall, I think maybe the day 3, did you feel he didn't play as well, Skipaeus, coming into EMEA finals with a chance to play for World?
I wasn't particularly paying attention to him. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him there, to be honest.
I do remember he was playing some lines that were not ideal. He was like a little bit too open from what I remember from my prep when I was preparing for day 3, around like playing reroll lines from bad spots and like just the worst of the reroll lines basically that were available to play on that patch.
Yeah, that patch was a bit tricky to play. I'm not surprised that I don't think as I said, I think everyone but me got the read slightly wrong. So and at that point it's kind of RNG how wrong you get it, I think.
Yeah, you don't have enough maybe time to really know with like certainty what lines will actually perform and what lines won't, and what are the kind of the factors that make them perform or not as well. So yeah, I got that. Moving on to number 11, we have another player who had a very good set 10, Zoro. Disco disease, but in a good way. I think he had a disco cure, at least in his GSC1 performance. Again, if the format had not changed for GSC1 and we had not added the 7th game in the final lobby, he would be GSC champion because he was leading the point total before Patik outplaced him in Game 7 and was a winner instead. And I think he was the most consistent player in the tournaments throughout all 3 days and just really, he showed up in a big way. Has always been very good on ladder, but I think this has stepped up in tournaments, in my opinion, this set. 12th at GSC2, 15th at EMEA. So again, very consistent and really good stats. We're looking there, high top 4%, high win rate, good AVP. Alan, are you convinced that Zoro knew some different tech around making disco work?
I remember pre-level to 8, so maintaining 30 gold, 20 gold, and hitting national total and TF next roll from pre-level. So like the man clearly got some airs from the Skipaeus himself. He's having something. But to be fair, he did have a pretty good read in Vegas. I ended up with him in the lobby, and he pretty much just spammed the warriors all day, every day. And that worked out for him until it didn't.
A lot of the, I think, success of Zoro also comes from who we prep with. We'll see later on in the ranking, there's 2 more players that were prepping with Zoro, and they're part of, in my opinion, this new wave of French players who are not part of this, veteran group of Enzo, Lides, Cambiz, Double, that I've all shared tech and prep together and all elevate themselves, I think, separately a little bit from the French community. There's this new wave that did really well, and we'll look into Zoro, but also the next ranked player, number 10 in the power rankings, which is Tardaman, who also had a very explosive sets on ladder, especially super dominant at the start of the set. He was one of the first players that was playing the Executioner line, even just the 4 Guardian, 4 Executioner, that I think is, out of the French people, he was one of the first ones even on ladder and had a lot of success with it. Do you guys think these 2 players were, kind of deserve these rankings? They really fought for them and proved it in this set?
Yeah, most definitely. And like identifying, like the you mentioned, the line where you have to play for Guardian. If you are not hitting, like, let's say, a move 3 with the Gargoyle, you need that extra front lane. And like just not sticking to the one line that you've learned on the Twitter from Clement posting. It's pretty important to be able to be flexible in those spots to increase your average.
Talking about Clement, Snoody, all the Spanish players, they say that Clement is a fraudster and he's baiting everyone with the posts he makes.
So there's like a very fine line for his content. I mean, I know that his content is mainly targeted to the casual audience, and you can really notice that. So every time you look at one of his posts, you have to think, is this like a real tech, or am I getting baited again into doing 8th? So some things are really interesting, like some positioning or something, but you have to think about it twice at least.
Oh, yeah. No, originally I thought Clement was like no flame. I thought he was like a good player because he had like one good idea or something, and then he had something very questionable, and he said it's like, oh, it's this crazy new Chinese stack. This guy climbed 600 LP with it in 2 days. Yeah, he climbed from 100 LP master to 700 LP master. Like, I can do that with any team comp. This is not impressive. This is bad.
So I was always a big fan of Clement's content in general, just the consistency. What he was posting. I know it's not maybe the 1.6k LP players necessarily, but still, I think overall very helpful. And always, if I posted it or I shared it on the Spanish Discord that we have for prep, everyone would be like, "Oh, the fraud is back again. We're not going to listen to this guy. He baited us into playing this comp or this other comp." I just wanted to mention it. But back to Tardaman, I think also very good sets. I'm really happy that we have this new French wave, and also a player we'll talk about later, maybe the leader of the pack in terms of results. But overall, I'm really happy to see more French players and new French players showing up and really performing so well.
Isn't it Tarteman that prepped together with Fresh and Jedusar? They had this like
awesome.
this prep group. Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can clearly tell like the difference of like when it's something working out, it's working out for literally everybody. If it's like you wanted the example, Skipaeus. That's exactly the example you wanted. The group, the proved study group that's working.
And this all comes from Vegas and from Wild Rumble leading into Vegas. They all took way more serious and they were at a very high level the entire start of the sets, experience as well. Most because of this, because they were prepping together and sharing ideas and reached a level that I think a peak for all of them this set compared to past sets. And look at Enzo. Okay, go Skipaeus. No more prep. We're going to talk about it.
No, we already talked about this. I've said my part.
Okay.
It's just Alan tried to open the thing. He tried to slide in a word again with getting a response.
No. I won't allow it. We have a lot to talk about. We're still in set 10. We have to talk about set 11 as well. Look at Enzo. I think he had the opposite set of Canvas. Really bad start to the set on ladder. On EMEA ladder, not so much. I think he's like game took a little bit to get to that top form. But in tournaments, especially at Vegas, he's a player that I thought from set 8, his peak, he showed it to us, I think is one of the highest in EMEA in terms of raw talent. Not sure if you agree with this, Skip, from the time that you have watched Enzo. But he did have a very strong finish for the set. He became the champion of France, the Coupe de France tournament, which is always, I think, impressive. France is, of course, I would say still the hardest region to be the best player in for a set. And also a very, very strong 9th place at EMEA with an asterisk of one little point extra. And who knows, maybe Enzo could be a world. I think it's a similar argument for double, who finished 10th, and they were both basically on tiebreakers or 1 point away. So overall, but yeah, GSC not so good. There's a few more players that fall into this category of maybe not caring or not putting enough effort into prep for GSCs and then just coasting through ladder qualification to regionals, and that's why their stats and their performance looks like this. But overall, thoughts on Enzo? Disappointed, surprised, happy? Snoody?
Sorry, I'm gonna jump in quickly. Expected to do well. Like I had a read after the first GSC that he's gonna popped off with the late fuse.
I just wanted to point out something on a personal level, more than I guess his level as a player. He's probably one of the nicest people I've met in the esports scene, like in the 7 or 8 years I've been around. We met in Malaga, and that's really a lot of people that I've met, so that's pretty cool.
I think it makes you even more inclined to want to cheer for him and want to see him do well.
Always for sure, yeah.
As a very infectious personality when it comes to, just joyful, and you can tell he's very passionate about TFT. And again, we talk about ladder performance being a big factor with I'm So Fresh. I think similar for Enzo. He proved it on ladder the whole set. Tournaments didn't quite work out for reasons. And there's a chat, maybe you can tell us if it was lack of prep or knowing he was qualified already to regionals or what it was. But we expect more, despite the good finish. Hopefully he can bring the same momentum into set 11. And look at number 8 on the ranking. This is where the French wave starts. There'll be a lot of French players. And that's Voltairix, someone who went to Worlds. Despite this, is only ranked 8th, the 8th best player in EMEA. Are we surprised is the case, considering he has fairly consistent results as well in GSCs, looking around the 20th mark?
Well, using my criterion, like, if we rewind the time back 4 months, play it again with slightly different RNG, I may have placed Volta like 8th, but I think I may even place him lower because I don't think he is one of the favorites to make it to Worlds, to have great tournament results. He's not even a massive favorite to make it to regionals. Like, he didn't qualify by a ladder. He needed like 20th, 25th here at GSC. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I give him extra credit for, doing well in the actual world, not in just possible, that counts slightly more than possible worlds, some sort of an X factor. But I mean, I have just been, I'm gonna have to say, like, fairly unimpressed by his play through the entire set. So I'm not surprised he's there.
That argument, and so I know there's, before you go through that, I know there's many players that also have some discounted opinions around Volta's playstyle and all this. 4 times at Worlds, despite maybe not passing the eye test for you, do you think Volta and his approach to TFT on certain patches where he knows the very broken stuff, he knows how to play for them and when to take that risk and when to kind of actually commit and execute, do you think he knows that's his highest point of skill, where because it's not variance that he makes it 4 times to Worlds and knows how to qualify every time and knows how to play these very high risky playstyles and almost always work out in his favor. Same with set 9. Similar case with the tomes, the Earth meta.
Wait, isn't it variance? I mean, you say that with high degree of confidence, Panda, that I would not...
Listen, looking at his Riven games, I do not understand how every game, everything, he knows exactly when to commit and when to actually take these massive risks, and it seems to always pan out in his favor. I think he has, you mentioned X Factor, I think it's something, because I agree. I think he does very high risk stuff that I would say, okay, it's not going to work out this time. It does, and it does again. And every set is the same thing. Isn't that surprising?
I mean, okay, so if you have like 1,000 players doing, 1,000 good players doing very risky stuff, like one of them's going to make it to World 4 times, right?
But it's the same one that everyone always discounts, that always has, I don't know, this anti-hero.
Well, we discount all, like the 999 other ones as well, right? Like,
so I think there is a lot. Like, I know we need to speed up a bit, but a quick note on Volta, because it's a controversial figure among other pro players. I think he takes those risky lines that look like very risky, but he has a backup plan. Let's say a classic, a last set. He took the rapid fire Augment on 3-2 when he was looking like he's playing the reroll Riven. He took it as a backup plan to have a secondary carry if he doesn't hit Riven fast enough, but if he hits Caitlyn too, that should stabilize him off. And he happened to hit Lucian too, which made him look like I don't know, genius or just a dirty high roller. But it in my mind, he had to justify it as a backup plan, and he just happened to high roll out of this spot.
Just as a caster who obviously has to, in some ways, watch players play often, with GSCs, etc., and, being play styles and patterns, I was not a believer. And this set, I just couldn't not, once again, just continue doubting, because it seemed like there was something else going on where the things he was able to pull off, no one else can do consistently, and it seemed like he was always doing it. Not sure if it's variant, maybe it is. Maybe it's a 1 in 1,000 chance, maybe, you're right, Skipaeus, but I'm no longer doubting Volta if it's a certain meta that has these very high variance spikes where if you know what to play for and it has these really big outs, you're going to have success. I'm no longer doubting him in the future. And that's all I'll say. But moving on.
I don't mean, just to correct myself, I don't mean to say he's bad or anything, but I think there's the reason why he's ranked 8th, even though he made it to Worlds. That's all I'm saying.
And there might be some biased judges on this panel as well. That's all I'm saying. I won't throw anyone under the bus who's maybe in the chat chatting away, because there's a few people that are on thin ice right now on the panel. But looking at Double, someone that on the opposite side was, I think, people were expecting more from him. And then you look at his stats and his placements, and he actually had a fairly good set, especially looking at the stats across all the tournaments. High ladder peak, qualified to the ladder, 5th at Open, at the Vegas Open, played really well, in my opinion. Maybe the day 3 not as good, but overall played really well in the high variance tournament. 44 the GSC, that was maybe a bit of a blemish on his set 10 performance. But then 14th GSC 2, 10th EMEA finals, once again, 1 point away from making final day. And we know what Double looks like on a day 3. He could, very perfectly have made it to Worlds 2 more times. He had made it in, I think, set 9 or maybe set 8. He was also a point away. Looking at the stats, I was like, hey, maybe he just didn't have a bad set at all. He just couldn't actually clutch up when it mattered most, and that could be variance. Are we surprised he's 7th?
Do you guys think he's going to get demotivated from this at some point? Because when you miss out 3 sets in a row, it's not 3 years, 3 sets, and you're that close. I mean, sometimes you're probably just not going to be investing that much more time into the game, right?
I mean, that depends on how trash his life. Is his life trash, or I think he's studying to be a doctor or something? No,
I don't really know.
He has other things going on in life, right? If he was, kind of, if he were some homeless loser or something, he'd have motivation to keep playing. But if he has a good life outside of TFT, then that motivation is gonna sink. Maybe.
It also depends if you're results oriented or not. Because if you aren't, if you're Double, I think and you have confidence that you're very good at CFC. So even if you don't make
very good performance through the set, you can't tell me you look at this as a pro player and you look at this. Oh, this was the disappointing set for him.
Exactly, this is what I mean to say.
Perform. This is insane results for he didn't get Worlds, he didn't win out anything, but this is very impressive results for from the competitive set point.
It is. Double. It looks.
He popped off this set super hard. I mean, he pops off pretty much every set he tryhards. We all know that KC Double's insane, right?
Isn't this fun fact he made every EMEA finals? Sorry, every EMEA regionals, not finals.
He has, yeah. I believe so. Yeah, I mean, overall, I would just say
he gets through the ladder usually, no? Like
yeah.
Like first or second spot every time, yeah.
Which is maybe, I think, of one of the issues with some players in EMEA that relax a little bit too much in the middle of the season. I don't know if that affects their final performance. I don't think it matters, or maybe it does. But we know the classic of Double going to Set 8 Worlds was playing Valorant, as far as I know, most of the week leading to Worlds. I know, as you mentioned, Snooty, Canvas, and Double were playing League, and they're obviously they can do that if they have the skill to come back and still be, for that not to matter. Great, but if Double would lock in and have the focus that some other players have, even not needing it, I think he would be, even better than he is right now, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. But that is one thing when after that I always have with Double and Canvas, that they're not always fully locked in the entire set.
Yeah, so the thing about Double is like he has very few games every set. And I find that very interesting. I don't know if he spends like a ton of time for reviewing or anything, or if he just doesn't invest all that much time into TFT, right? And, either he could be even better if he just grinded hard, or maybe he just, he's limited not by time, but by the amount of energy he can put into the game every day, right? And then it makes sense to only play like 4 or 5 hours every day, maybe not even that, if you just need to be at your top level focus and it exhausts you super fast. Maybe that's the camp he's in. I don't know. Maybe, someone who knows him better can say whether
he had a Smurf account this set.
Higher. Sorry?
He had a Smurf account this set, so he was putting in much more time. I think it was Trainer Double, and he actually peaked pretty high. It was about 1,600 AP, but then he dipped like it down because it was Smurf account. He didn't care. I don't know if that's happened in other sets, but this set he had a very high ranked Smurf account.
Oh, all right. So slightly deceptive.
It's about number 6 in the ranking. We've got to speed up a bit. Dark Hydra, player that, again, maybe surprising to see him ranked as high, considering his highs in the last set, in set 9, becoming EMEA champion. This time, I think the saving grace was, again, a very strong performance at EMEA finals. Very consistent overall. Made it to the final lobby. Skipaeus, did you notice in terms of, his performance on day 3? Was it poorer than you expected? What was your opinion on Dark Hydra? Did you watch his games at all?
I thought he was a perfectly fine player going into the finals. I do think I don't remember the specifics. I did think that he was doing some wild stuff in the 3 games he went 8th in a row in the finals. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I definitely expected I think he could have definitely performed a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he had both times kind of the curse of going 8th game 1 and then turning it around. So yeah, if maybe some various comes a different way, maybe that would be a different story for Hydra. But overall, I think still very strong performance from Hydra, becoming, I think, clearly one of the consistent favorites every single set, alongside someone else who we'll see in a few spots, also from Germany. But first, number 5 in the ranking, another player that I'm not going to say had a breakout set because obviously he's been around for so long, but I think this is the set that cemented him to the mainstream competitive audience that he is one of the favorites in EMEA, and I think should be and probably will be top 10 every set from now on if he keeps up this level of play. That is Chinar, who had a very consistent set, 7th GSC number 1, 13th GSC number 2, and 6th at EMEA finals, just barely missing a chance to make it to Worlds. I was really impressed. I think he finally deserves to have some real bigger recognition for the wider audience. Do you guys agree?
Had a very good set. Beast of a player. Let's go to the top 4.
Yeah. I have, I've known him for a while. I knew for a while that he was one of the favorites in EMEA. So yeah, well deserved.
And number 4, a jungler who, again, maybe expected to be, he was ranked number 1 on the power rankings throughout the entire sets in terms of the opinions of our judge panel. Had one of the highest peaks in terms of the players that were ranked in the top 15 on ladder. 65th at Vegas, which is an okay placing for what Vegas was an event and how high variance it was. 18th GSC number 1, 5th GSC number 2, 5th EMEA finals. The cornerstone of my fantasy draft wins throughout all the podcasts because he's very consistent. He's made day 3, I think, every single GSC for since set 8, since he came back after he finished high school. And he's been an absolute beast. I think everyone was disappointed not to have him make it to Worlds after he finished 2nd. I think he would have been definitely one of the strong favorites to, even win Worlds and be among the best we could send, in my opinion.
Removed goalkeepers couldn't even stop him. Let's go next.
Yeah.
And now we move on to our World reps. That 3 players remaining. And I think we can guess the order after our leaks at the start. Thalby, number 3, very, very strong sets in terms of consistency. 49th at Vegas, which is a good result. 21st at GSC number 1, and then second GSC number 2. First in the German TRC final against, again, one of the strongest regions in TFT and EMEA. And then, of course, EMEA champion with a risky playstyle, but one that worked out for him across those 18 games. And then a disappointing World, which I think is the big blemish, obviously, on his sets. That would have been maybe one of his best sets ever in terms of just how consistent he was, despite having a 961 LP peak on ladder.
Did he qualify TRC every time, or how was that? He did. Wow. Okay.
As far as I know, does anyone want to chime in with maybe there's a Smurf I don't know about, but this is what I saw as this peak. I know he does not care about his ladder rank. I know he was Grandmaster most of the set, but he was fine with that. He was testing a lot of stuff on ladder from what I heard. Are you guys surprised to see someone with such a low ladder peak, considering how valuable how much value we normally give to ladder performances?
I mean, he's been OG since forever, right? Like having double accounts in top 10 Euro back then. He doesn't care nowadays, I guess, but he can do it if he wants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how much time you have to play. If you have a proper mind and you can get knowledge from watching, you can be 0 LP master and you can absolutely pop off.
I think Salvi's an exception to the rule.
I mean, well, it's like Salvi's coasting on his talent. Like, if he just put his axe to the grindstone and actually grind it, he could be like even better. Like, exactly. His results are in spite of his like ladder performance and his commitment to like volume, playing a lot of volume, not because of it. That's my opinion.
And look at the stats as well: 3.8, 20% win rates, 66% top 4 rates, which is super consistent across the entire sets. And then leading to, in my opinion, the breakout player of the sets, and someone who I think we should applaud for his consistency, for his performance, and for really stepping up. He was Set 9 Hex League champion, so it's not like he just came out of nowhere. He has been a talented kind of A-tier player in France for a while, but this set, alongside his new prep group and kind of the new wave of French players, and especially with, I think, I'm surprised as you mentioned, Snooty coming into regionals, had a really, really great set, despite having very bad GSCs. This is a player that's the opposite of Salvi. He had terrible tournament performances, really, really strong ladder. He was rank 1 a lot of the sets. I think that was a bigger surprise for everyone watching him. And then just popped off at EMEA finals, made 3rd, and then had a very solid world showing as well. With, I think, good play, passing the eye test, I would say, Skipaeus. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was on the top of the threat list for more than, a whole set now. The fact that his GSC performances have been lackluster, I think it really is just down to 6 games format. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I think if we rewind the clock back 4 months, he could very well win a GSC. It's not like he has some mental block against doing well in day ones. He's a great player.
True. Any more opinions on Jidusor overall, Alan?
Absolutely a breakout player, as you mentioned. Giga surprised that he did that well and clearly prepping with the other players and making through. Happy for them. Let's go next.
My only hope it's not the only one, but for number 1 in EMEA for set 10, that is going to be, of course, Skipaeus with a smurfing 3.6 AVP, 68.5% top 4 rate, and 22% win rate, despite not leading into that first rated place ball, despite not leading into Heartsteel most of the regional finals. Still made it work, and despite missing GSC2 as well. We'll talk about the going back in time and the 6th game. This is what he's been leading up to with this argument the entire podcast, I think. But still, the tournament you did play Skipaeus. Okay. I remember the open qualifier, day 3, what happened?
Okay, so I don't know. It was a rough patch. I didn't have a great read on that patch. I don't remember exactly what it was. So, like 2 days before the snapshot for GSC, I was rank 2 with more than... That LP peak is wrong, by the way, because I was over 1,700 2 days before that snapshot, and then I lost 600 LP in 2 days. So I have
the peak for like the day, not like the total peak. Unless I ask all of you specifically. Yeah,
okay, I see. Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I mean, Open Qualifier confirmed more difficult than EMEA Finals, I guess.
I agree with you as someone who was 1 top 4 away from making a GSC this set as well, in GSC 1. But overall, the tournaments you did play, you were incredibly consistent. 3rd at GSC number 1, which I think, did you kind of relax a little bit, knowing that you were almost directly qualified from those points that you acquired at the first GSC?
Yeah, definitely. I would have sat on that 1,700 LP if I wasn't. I was like 9th on the snapshots by the 3rd snapshot, But, because of this, because of the third place, I knew that I don't have to care about snapshots at all. I can just play whenever I feel like it, not, never sit and, troll my snapshots because of it.
It's happened in the past with, Hayden in set 8, for example, that he's like immediately qualified. And it could be kind of a double-edged knife or sword, whatever the saying is, where it maybe, takes away from the time that you should put into focusing and being in full prep for EMEA finals. But in your case, I think you were still very high on ladder and really putting a lot of effort and prep in. So I think it didn't affect you so much. And then EMEA finals, second place, I think you showcased your creative, outside of the box, not conforming to doing what everyone else is doing, instead finding your own path to success. And the same in World Champs. Did you feel the World Championship, you had to change your playstyle at all? Do you feel there was something different? Did you just feel as confident as you did in EMEA?
No, I don't think there was any change in playstyle. I think the only difference was that the lobbies were a little bit softer at Worlds than in EMEA finals. I think the variance of skill at Worlds is a bit higher. That I think slightly favors tempo playstyle, which is my playstyle. So I didn't really have to change anything at all.
Addition of NA made it softer, clearly.
Oh, it's okay. So
let's not go there, Alex.
The real explanation. So the real explanation is that, especially in the smaller regions, where I would say that I think that like the best C players or OC players or Japan players are probably on the level of best EMEA players, but because they have like only 3 or 2 slots, the chances that the best Japanese player makes it to Worlds is lower than the chance that like the best EU player makes it to Worlds. So
I think the discrepancy between the 10th best and the second best or the first best is actually very much bigger.
Yeah,
CA, Japan, etc.
That too.
Yeah, I agree. So
it was easier to stay high on HP at Worlds, I guess. But no, I don't think any. I did prepare some Spellweaver compositions, and they were pretty good, but I never got the opener for it.
You had only KDA openers and KDA stats. We saw you playing a lot of KDA during Worlds. As a recap, finally, to set 10, and before we want to set 11 stuff and the news from yesterday, for you, Skipaeus, after finishing 5th at World, after being now ranked, I think unanimously, the number, again, it was I think everyone voted for you as number 1 in their ballots. Number 1 player in EMEA. Are you proud? I know it was hard considering that you were so close to winning Worlds and becoming world champion, but overall, is this close to what you would say the dream set for you?
I mean, overall, I'd say that kind of outside of the finals, I guess I was happy with my performance, but I don't really get to feel pride all that much. So, yeah, I mean, the performance was pretty decent.
Pretty decent. I think that's the highest praise we'll get out of Skipaeus for himself. Maybe it's at 11. There'll be, I think, a lot of cooking from what we saw in PBE. A lot of chances to play a lot of horizontal comps and not so many verticals. So we'll see if that pans out in your favor. But then with all rankings, again, congratulations to all the players that competed in this set. I think a lot of players, especially new players, really broke out into the scene and really proved a lot in terms of their level of play. And I hope they're not just one-hit wonders. We've seen in the past before. Some players have very strong sets and then don't really follow up on that in the next sets for diverse reasons. So hopefully players like Edizor, et cetera, are able to come back in set 11 and continue being favorites to win tournaments, et cetera, on ladder as well. But with that, let us move on, forget about headliners, and move on to set 11 news, because yesterday we saw a lot of news regarding the global circuit changes. This is where NA will get salty in chat, but let's run through some of the tweets and some of the general updates we saw around the global circuit. Our producer just bring out anything and we'll talk about it. First big change, we're going to have now new branding for every event. They're copying EMEA's format, and that essentially means that they're going to have open qualifiers into GSCs, which are now called Tacticians Cups. The open qualifiers are called Tacticians Trials, and they lead to the regional tournaments, which are now Golden Spatula. This is the America circuit specifically, but it's, again, the same for EMEA and APAC as well. And then finally, we have the Tacticians Challenge, which is the new World Championship. And this, or NA, there will be some satellite tournaments around different, I think, community members and streamers doing their own ways to qualify. And also Latam and Brazil have their own, I think, league structures that feed into the circuits that we have, TRCs basically. So this bottom level is kind of equivalent to EMEA TRCs when it comes to Latam and NA. And then you have the same structure as EMEA, which I think we're all familiar with. And this is, we're seeing here the change in format. But the biggest thing is the change in world slots as a way for Riot to cleanly say, hey, new brand start to competitive. Let's do it this way. And in this case, for set 11, there will be 8 slots given to each of the 4 major regions, which are now Americas, EMEA, CN, and APAC, which is, SEA, Korea, Japan, OC. Americas was obviously very mad about these changes. Maybe rightfully so, in terms of what the expectations were and what they think they deserve in terms of their performances recently. But as EMEA competitors, Skipaeus, are you surprised? I know you were on Twitter. We have a tweet from you that you were like, hold up, wait. So EMEA just straight up went from 4 world slots to 8. Am I reading that right? You think this was a U diff? It was your performance. It was so strong. Just give us 4 slots.
Look, we flashed the Vietnam player numbers there, and I feel like, NA has nothing to complain about. I think, Vietnam is the region by far most underrepresented on Worlds, no? This is insane. They have more players than all of EMEA combined. But we have 8 slots for ourselves, and they have to contend with, Japan and Korea and stuff. It's crazy.
There are arguments around.
And they have nothing to complain about, but they do anyway. But that's their culture.
They have something that I think others have more to complain about, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I think it's the more accurate thing. There were arguments around EMEA in sets 4 or 5 when EMEA became a region kind of thing for World qualifiers, that we had slots taken away from us, that we should have had 6 or 7 with how it was before, and then we went up to 4, basically. I think the French could definitely chime in more with that in chat. There's a lot of opinions from the French, especially throughout yesterday. But overall, are we surprised? Do we think this is unfair, even if it benefits us? Snoody, opinions? Do you think?
I mean, overall, it just feels like when they value the spots for different regions, they just don't really look at performances, right? I don't really know what the measure is. It definitely isn't quantity either. I guess it's just what they consider their main regions, as far as they can put in resources and get a good amount of return. Let's say co-streams, or I don't know, people are involved in those scenes and creating tournaments for the community or whatnot. I don't know, LAN events. So it's pretty easy for them to do those things in EMEA in comparison to Vietnam is what I feel. But it's definitely not based on performance. And that's why I feel it's kind of weird that everybody's talking about performance as far as slots go. Because I don't really think when people sit down at Riot Games, they're thinking, okay, EU got a 5.0 average placement. Let's take away 2 slots. I mean, that's probably not the conversation.
And again, I despite the stats across multiple worlds, sure, AVP is the best. What Natures does, that he sees, the regions, it's the best for NA, whatever. I am still going to strongly believe that the representatives we send every world, there's a lot of variance in terms of who qualifies, in terms of what kind of prep they do for the world. And a single tournament with 12 games, sample size, dictates the accurate analysis of a region's strength is not correct. And I think I saw, I don't know if a tweet from Alana or a discussion in one of the Lobby 2 server, but I think he is correct. And this is my thought process around the regions right now. At the very top end, I believe the 10, 15, 20 best players in NA are better than the European players, and they've proven that at Worlds throughout the reps they send and the way they prep and how hardcore they go into prepping together, etc. I think this all benefits them. I do think that if you go down with a depth of 150 to 200 players, or let's say you do a tournament with 256 players from each major region. So 256 from NA, 256 from Americas, 256 from EMEA, 256 from China, and 256 from APAC. I strongly believe EMEA will have a way better performance than Americas, because the depth of quality we have in terms of challenger players, in terms of players that are competing and then actually, fighting and playing every day to have a chance to make the Worlds is much higher than NA, despite their top end being better. So
do you really think they're taking that into consideration? I mean, it doesn't feel like
that's the only justification I have outside of just making it look clean, basically.
Okay. Can we just stop at this tweet? So let me get this straight, right? So Michael is looking at this spreadsheet, right? And he is looking at the total number in the bottom there. And he's looking at how Americas have 200,000 fewer players than EMEA. And he is complaining that Americas don't have 10 slots versus 4 now, that it's 8 versus 8, when EU has more players. And then he sees Vietnam in there as well with over 2 million players, and he says nothing. Or is he complaining that we are stealing slots that rightfully belong to Vietnam? Or what's the context of this? Am I misunderstanding something?
I think the context, especially from Michael, is
number.
there's some maybe a rational idea, and understandably so, like an emotional response around them being the region that are most fucked by these changes, because now they have to compete with Americas. They're a region that's, I think it's been proven clearly with the people that qualify and the consistency they have with the same 5 to 10 players always being in the running to make it to Worlds without barely ever being any breakout players, in my opinion. It's because there's a few players that are very, very good in LATAM, and through the qualification to Worlds, they're able to make it very consistently. Now playing against America, they have those spots given away, and they have to actually fight for the extra slots, let's say, and it really, it fucks them over. I'm not saying they deserve it or don't, but they're clearly the bigger losers out of it. I'm not saying it's justified or not, basically. So I get the emotional response. Let's say reply like Michael, who I think is very good, but with the one slot only being guaranteed at LATAM, this makes it much harder for him to qualify to Worlds.
Have you guys
Just
seen
deal with it, dude. Like, qualifying to Worlds is hard.
It's easy to say that, Skip, when we have double the slot. I think you have to have more bites.
How do we have double the slots? Americas have 8 as well. Wait, what am I misreading?
I mean, we were screwed for so much time, and now they got equated. So it's like just live in our skin. Like this is what we had for this past sets. Now you get there as well now.
That's what I agree with. I think we were fucked over at the beginning, and now we're back to, I say, relative purity without looking at like a small sample size of just World Tournaments last 2 sets, because I think it's not really a clear indicator of strength. And now, in theory, we're on parity, but now it feels like there's this big complaint. But with the player base we have in Europe and the population in Europe, it's comparable, I would say, roughly to Americas. In terms of better players, especially.
Look, there are regions that can complain, like Vietnam and Korea. Like, they have very legitimate reasons to complain, I think. Because, to me, it makes sense to base the numbers in some proportion to the player base, right?
Keep in mind, we don't have the stats. How many people are actually like casual? Like
exactly.
How many mobile players? Like,
I think population servers don't make a lot of sense, because Vietnam had a huge growth of League of Legends in general, and Riot's really supported the Vietnamese scene specifically with SCA, and they did not support. They had Garena for the other server, which is why the servers. Imagine the server sucks, and you're a Philippine player. And you're like, oh, why would I play for this company or this structure of this company competitive if they don't support me? If I'm on a different server and it kind of the experience sucks. Whereas Vietnam was the opposite. They were like the favorite child of Riot, and this incentivized them to have a huge league community, which spilled over into TFT as well, which is why we see these numbers. But how many of those are actually players that are challenger and at a level to play at Worlds? I don't know. I don't know the breakdown there.
Okay, I guess, but.
And looking at Bryce saying something about the AVP at Worlds, again, I do not think you have to rank regional strength by the performance of 4 players every few months. You have to rank it by...
Can I jump in for a second? Because I'm still looking at the tweets and I'm getting kind of triggered. So, like, imagine you're Michael. Like, imagine you are a Polish player and you play on the EU Nordic East. And EU Nordic East alone has 4 world slots. And when those slots get absorbed to one bigger region, wouldn't you be absorbed?
I think South America is a bigger population than Poland.
Get the point. It's like, oh my, you get the reference. Like, it's not about the size; it's about the field, how soft of a field it is.
Regardless of what's fair or not,
that pool that you get soaked in. Go on. Sorry, I needed to.
I agree with you. I just think it's normal and expected to have an emotional response when your career is TFT and you're a player that has the skill. Michael has proved it at Vegas and in past Worlds events that he can, maybe become world champion. And now his spot to make it in a high variance game is much more difficult. I think it's a completely justified response. If he wants to flame EMEA for it, sure. I don't think that's necessarily. I think it's Riot maybe that they should be taking their problems with, because I think EMEA maybe should have had more slots in the past, despite the performance of the last few Worlds. I don't think it's relevant. I mean, it's relevant, but I think it's not the only thing that should be factored in.
On that discussion, maybe it was incorrect take from the get-go, and now it's appropriate to have like more less regionalized but more like a global slots for to increase the quality of the games. Because again, like as a viewer wants to get a best possible experience. And how do you increase the viewer experience? By doing so, you're gonna have a higher quality worlds this way. This is win-win. Like, this is only lose for players who are competing in the softer field. Like, come on.
All I'll say is we'll see in set 11 how it all pans out. All those sets before that didn't matter. But set 11, if EMEA does well, will be the deciding one. If we don't do well, then we send the wrong players again. And we'll try again in set 12. Many of our players prep together the week leading up the Worlds and find value in VOD reviewing.
Yes, and with power of friendship, we'll get all the EMEA players into the
That's what I want to
finals.
hear, Skipaeus. Well done. I'm going to 11th art set.
Yeah.
Isn't this whole system just set up to go to a bigger picture? Because I have the feeling like you guys know that in China they have like a different version of TFT, right? So it's like this own Chinese version that you play mostly on mobile, and they have redos on different sets that rotate over time. And like in their client, I don't know if you've seen the Clement post, they have like signups for different cups, right? And it's all very friendly casual. So I just think that this is kind of like the transition set where they're just putting it all together, and like we're 1 or 2 steps away from the Valorant system or that Chinese kind of system. And right now it's just like a small transition to that, right?
And I'll also say the structure around North America, I think in terms of just the space in general, it seems like there's a lot more players dedicate their time almost fully to TFT, whereas in EMEA it's completely opposite. There are very few players who only play TFT all day long, and actually I think it's also relevant. But anyway, so let's move on to next topic, which is broadcast changes. A topic that impacted me a lot, obviously. I kind of didn't lose my job yet, but will be kind of losing my job when it comes to casting TFT from set 12 onwards. And I found out the day before. You guys found out, so not the best news, obviously, but I made a tweet yesterday. Maybe most of you read it. The gist of it is basically I won't obviously leave TFT, also be casting. The reasons around why Riot is abandoning main broadcasts, I think it's a complex thing. I think I've seen on Reddit posts, everyone just flaming commentators, I guess myself included in this takes, because the main broadcasts were not good. I think TFT is a very hard game in terms of skill level to play it, skill level to understand it, and skill level to commit to casting it in terms of how much it requires from you compared to any other game that I've casted before. I think it is. And a lot of people don't take into account. A lot of people yapping on Twitter or on Reddit, flaming casters. And maybe it's not mostly directed at me. I'm aware of this because I do think I put a lot of time to get Challenger and understand the game at the highest level. Regardless, I think a lot of people take for granted how hard it is to cast TFT at a high level, how hard it is to focus on 8 different play perspectives, etc. And overall, I think Riot maybe didn't do the best job of, across these last few sets, giving the right feedback in terms of where to improve, despite I think it's not being their fault necessarily, because it is very difficult to do a good broadcast. But the general gist is they don't like the product. It seems like they prefer moving into a co-streaming setup. I think Proton has been a good example of how that could work and why it might work. And we'll see what that looks like for set 12 onwards. For myself, I'll stay involved with TFT. For my other casters, I feel bad for because I don't know what plans they have. It was very sudden, especially for North America, Latam, and Brazil casters. There was no warning for them. They have no more tournaments in this set until regionals and worlds, which is not a viable way to make a living. You don't make enough earning, and it doesn't incentivize you to play TFT to high level the entire sets to then cast 2 tournaments. Like it's impossible to require.
It's been kind of weird because like I've even casted with you, right? And I'm not even an official caster. So like I'm just a streamer who plays the game and enjoys doing that. And I've been invited to multiple of these events, so I don't know how they focus the resources, even though I benefited myself, was kind of weird overall. Because when you see these Valorant figures or the League of Legends, I don't know, the legendary ones like Shocks or whoever's doing Valorant at the moment, you just really work on these 3-4 figures and put all these resources into that, right? I don't know, there's just been very questionable decisions in my
I think it's just very hard.
Can I ask you guys a question? I can't really ask you, Panda, because you're the casting most of the time. But Skipaeus, Snoddy, if you are watching like main broadcast, like even as a watch party, or if you like, how often do you unmute the stream to listen to the casters because you are excited to listen to them?
Well, I mean, I don't unmute, but if Frodan has like a good player on, I keep it unmuted. But main broadcast, I always mute 100% of the time. But I don't imagine I'm the average viewer.
That's the thing. I think one of the issues with what I believe was the lack of proper feedback and what was so slow to react. And I can't say a lot, obviously, for my position because I'm involved in all these things. But I think a lot of it was maybe a misunderstanding of the target audience. And obviously, if you misunderstand the target audience, you misunderstand the focus that a rocket should have and the steps toward moving towards the right focus and the right target
There
audience.
is a reason why cast streams are higher viewed than the official cast. That's the exact reason. Like it's just for viewer, from the viewer experience, like it's not entertaining enough, or like not knowledgeable enough. Because casuals, if they watch TFT, they usually watch. I can't really relate, but I would assume to just pick up something that will make their gameplay more fun, or they just tune in to watch some TFT or their favorite player, and they have but then in the EMEA, it's specifically they watch their like regional caster, they that covers it in their language, and they regularly watch, versus on NA, which is a better example because there is like you have both English casts, but still, if I'm not mistaken, Frodan reaches bigger numbers than the official cast right now as a co-stream. And it's not because like the casual will tune into Frodan stream because like there is like because it's like it's more entertaining. You have more knowledge there. There's just like infinitely more content there. Like that's why there is more people watching it.
But I think the focus for viewers in TFT, this is where the mismanagement I think comes from, and the lack of focus on the right target audience, is that there are not viewers that are watching TFT to be entertained. They're watching TFT to become better at the game and maybe on the side be entertained in the process. But the ultimate goal, at least for me, and I think for a lot of viewers, and we're seeing it reflected in the numbers and the focus of what's working and what isn't, is the hunger to learn things, to learn new things while also being entertained. If you're not meeting that's thing number one, no matter how casual a player is in TFT, because of how complex the game is, even players in Platinum and Diamond are not just playing fully for fun. They're also playing, even if it's just to learn a metacomp and spam it 24/7. They're trying to learn, and they're looking for these bits of information that can make them better and have better results. And that's ultimately the driving factor, I in my opinion, for anyone viewing the TFT tournament. So if that's target, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, go Snoodyboo.
For me, it's just sad because, I mean, we've had so many successful examples like the French community, right? Because they're always at the top, as well as they have good players. They also have very strong cross streams. And like if you have figures like Sean's or Unid or whoever's casting at the moment, Toki, I don't know, you can just kind of replicate that structure and implement it in the EMEA format, right? Because it's been working there for so long. They kind of do a little bit of a meme contrast with good knowledge of the game. And it's just shocking to me that after 10 sets, they have to abandon the whole project instead of like trying to reinforce it. But I mean, what are you going to do about it?
Okay, so I don't watch StarCraft 2 anymore. I used to like 10 years ago, right? I never play the game. I never watch anything. If I ever watch a tournament, it's Home Story Cup. That's the only tournament worth watching, even though it's like, a guy with barely understandable like Dutch accent, like awkwardly talking with two other people who have never casted a game, but somehow it's fun. Like maybe what Panda is saying, maybe like entertainment isn't entertaining. Maybe what is entertaining is just having like three blokes just chilling on a couch, casually talking about a game without like, necessarily having massive production value or like shouting or play-by-play or anything like that. Maybe it's just like, maybe that has been the entertainment all along, right? So, because this is not just in TFT, right? Like Kyle Drell in League of Legends, he has more viewers than the official League of Legends broadcast. And he's just chilling there with like the official cast on very low volume and saying a thing once every 30 seconds, because just the experience of like feeling you're chilling with someone is more entertaining than like a high quality product. And especially if the people on the co-stream is someone you're familiar with, or someone who you feel is like a big name, like, oh, it's Frodan, oh, there's Iniko there, he works on the game, there is like, so you're not just chilling with someone, you're chilling with a big name, and that's like entertaining. So maybe it's just complete misunderstanding on what's actually fun about esports in general.
On different note, into comparison, watching like back in the days when I played competitively Dota or when I played Hearthstone, I never muted those streams. They were hella entertaining, the casters that were covering those games back in the days. I don't know how is it now, but like I can guarantee you can make commentary premium content, especially if you have a proper duo trio of the casters.
Oh, I agree, but like you have to have some veracity around, like, when you go to Franco's stream, you're entertained, but also that everything that's being said is true, or is very close to the truth, is very close to, there's a certain level, and like you're getting guaranteed because their personality that have proven this already in the past. Ladder play with, past casts, with their involvement in the scene in different ways. But yeah, I think overall there's been a lack of feedback with all of the broadcasts on Riot's side, and a lack of implementation of ideas if something is not working. And I think maybe there has to be a different approach. But it is what it is. I will still be casting set 11. In EMEA, we still have tournaments in set 11. And for set 12, no concrete news yet, but I won't be gone, and I will be involved. So I guess you guys can make your guesses. In a few weeks, there'll be more clear details around what it'll look like. But I definitely am not done with TFT. I love it too much. I do all this extra stuff like community around like scrims and this podcast and all these other stuff because I can't get enough of it. As a player as well, I play, I think, on level with most of the competitive players in EMEA, not level wise or like skill level wise, but like games played per set. You'll be seeing more of me, but we'll move on to set 11 stuff because if not, we'll be here forever. And I hope to enjoy my last set 11 casting main broadcast. I think I love my co-casters and stuff. And I think a lot of the issues was around mismanagement from like feedback side, in my opinion. Iguana's going to have a PB tournament this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I was very happy I'm good friends with Iguana, great guy in the Spanish community, really good player. Maybe not the tier 1 level like Dallas Monsafa, but definitely a strong challenger player that's always there. And he also does a lot of great content and great stuff for the community. I think one of the best streamers in Spain alongside Sudi. And he's doing another PB tournament like he did last sets with a lot of international players, including Skipaeus, including Snoodyboo. I believe you're playing Snoody, right?
Yeah, there. Yeah.
And Alanzq as well. I was very happy to help him curate a lot of this list. So if you made it, maybe it was thanks to me. If you didn't, it wasn't my fault at all. But I think it's a very strong list. I was able to contact players from Korea, like Binsum, and a lot of different players I have relationship with through my interviews in World and stuff. So I think it'll be really stacked. Ferdinand's doing a code stream in English, which maybe I'll join him for one of the days. Talk to him about it. But overall, you want to watch it. There'll be a million code streamers and obviously different streamers like Alan and Snoody and maybe not you, Skip, streaming their perspective as well.
I'll stream, but I will not talk during the game, so it's going to be pretty boring.
And I think EMEA will clear because the NA streams I've been watching, they have been doing some questionable stuff in PV.
Before we close up on that, by the way, this is just an excuse to get the Spanish players into a world scenario. Since we can't qualify, you have to create a world-like kind of scenario where we can actually participate. So that's what it's all about.
And second piece of news for EMEA specifically, I think very important, we have the Wild Rumble ladder race once again coming back. €5,000 prize pool, so a good incentive to really try hard at the beginning of the set, and I think really fun. I played it in it last set as well. I think all of us, I'm not sure if you did, Skipaeus, last set. You did, right?
I don't. So is this the same thing as the AK Wonder race?
Yes, this is Wild Rumble, yeah.
It is the...
Oh, I was not, my application was not accepted. That's it.
Okay, well, I'll make sure it is this set. I'm also helping AK Wonder with this project a little bit, and it's going to be expanded to 100 players this time around, so any EMEA player that is not signed up yet, you can sign up and you look at your, placements, your achievements, competitive achievements in the past, and then you'll be hopefully invited to compete.
Even if this thing was for golden pens, and I would love to play this. It's just
exactly
fun.
Just any reason to compete and to trash talk and to showcase you're better than others. I think it's really fun. Moving on. Oh yeah, sign up through wildrumble.gg. So it's right there. I won't look for the link. You guys can do it. I believe in you. Moving on now, we have set 11, the PB Masterclass, which won't be that long of a Masterclass, unfortunately, I think. But regardless, Alanzq, I think you've maybe played the most PB games out of any player in the world, in my opinion, because you're playing 24/7. I also play a lot, although mostly pressing D most games. And Snoody, you've been playing a lot as well. So we did a tier list with Alan today on his stream, and we will present these tier lists in a quick fashion. We can make general comments on anything that looks surprising to you. Alan,
wait, I need to watch this for the tournament.
You can introduce us, Alan. What's
on the D note, pressing the D key. We are on the complete opposite spectrum. I press F most of the time on my keyboard. You press D.
This shows the units that you buy, like not the strength of the units, but generally how happy you are to play these in the early game. This is from 1 to 3 cost, in how much value Alan mostly and me a little bit gives to these units in terms of your openers. Any surprises?
Basically, units you get from the box or you see in the shop you buy, and you can put if you get in terms of 3 cost or 2 cost from the box, you can play around those units. Or if you don't, those are the units the 1 cost that you should be looking at to buy from the shop based on the initial feelings from the patch. Slowly.
I'm just surprised Thresh is down there in tier D. I mean, just based on pure synergies, he seems like a beast. I mean, the other ones make sense because Malphite is like a bot, but that really surprised me.
Oh, this is before I learned that the a trash Yasuo tech. Actually, trash Yasuo goes up in stonks. I learned it after I made this. So it's definitely A.
Okay.
And Zoe, is she that strong after the buffs, Alan, to be an S tier?
Who?
Zoe.
It's Fortune.
How much time did you guys put into this tier list? Just out of curiosity.
15 minutes.
Okay.
We went
Just curious overall, yeah.
15 minutes over all the tier list. We did tier list for everything.
Great.
This is just a starting ground to create discussion and not do it live. It would take forever.
Like, this is essentially, I see my shop, and I know which units I'll be buying in what priority, essentially, or what units I will not sell to buy different units from the shop, essentially.
Any big surprises? We have lots to go through.
So the solo frontliners are ranked pretty low. Is like Gargoyle opener not that great anymore?
Oh, it is best opener. Gargoyle on Amumu Ilo. That's why Amumu Ilo is in the top tier. Like, what you want to Gargoyle on the Warden, specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's why Nico and Rek'Sai are low.
Yeah. Those units, it's...
And some bigger ideas around why, S tier Storyweaver opener very strong. Amumu and Ilaoi are very strong. They've been strong the entire PvE cycle. Snipers were strong at, stage 2 especially to kill units. Teemo with the buffs and Zoe with the buffs, I think much stronger now. I haven't played much of them, and Volibear, despite the nerf, still was a menace for one patch and is still, I think, relatively strong with Ink Shadow especially. So Storyweaver, Ink Shadow, mostly a trait-based opener for S tier. Alan, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry, you repeat because I was stun-docked by the chat.
Storyweaver and Ink Shadow units are here mostly because the traits are very strong in stage 2.
Yes, this is just openers. This is not rerolls.
Yes.
Just keep in mind, this is your stage 1 and stage 2. This is not reroll tier. This is
Stage
just
1?
your opener tier.
Tier list for stage 1.
Who else is tilted
Tierlists
by the
for
fact
stage
that Fortune is back, but it sucks now? Because I was really hyped when I saw Fortune, and it's like nothing like the one that we had in set 4. I mean, you just can't steal the name if it's going to suck ass. I'm offended by that.
Gary, S tier going to be the Storyweaver unit, that's all. Don't put too much time to it.
Yeah, it's Arcanist, and it's like if you get like Zoe...
No, I was talking about the synergy, not Zoe, like the synergy overall.
Okay. The Fortune is... I didn't test it because it was bugged for so long, and it was so bad for so long, and now you need to have a proper opener, because there is only one free cost you can hit for the econ trait, let's say, but it's hard to test this properly from like 2-1, and like you don't kind of pursue the 5, you need to get the 3, and then like you need to have a proper roll dices. If you roll low roll dices like 6 into 6, you might be dead if you try to double cash out.
Moving on to the late game carries, 4 costs, 5 costs. Not too many big surprises. I think, the power level of things like Xayah, for example, have been low the entire PvE cycle. Lissandra as well, outside of her money printing, as an actual late game carry, or, you want on your board late game, maybe not so much. Snoody, I see your immediate strong reaction. What's surprising to you?
I mean, I get that Hui is probably not up there as a carry anymore, but Xayah with the buffs is definitely not tier D, for example. I think just a random Lissandra on any board can probably farm you a lot. Rakan has been like a beast overall throughout all this PvE.
After patch, she's just over-nerfed. In terms of Xayah, Teemo outperforms Xayah by far right now. In terms of Teemo 1 outperforms Xayah 2 with items.
Yeah, but that's just overbuff, I guess, more than Xayah being bad, no?
I mean, if you have to put a trick shot on the board, it's better to put Kai'Sa plus Teemo than Xayah with any other 2.
Okay.
In terms of power level of the unit. So, like, why would you put... Like, you are not playing for trick shot because it's usually not worth it. You don't have the items to support it. And then if you have to put 2 trick shots, Xayah is at the end of the food chain.
Do you play Syndra with, like, a vertical frontline synergy, or...?
You can play Warden if you have the Warden argument, I believe. I didn't try it without, but 6 Warden, if you have the Warden argument, it's pretty good.
The S tier, Silas, Morgana, Kayn, very strong after the boss that came 2 patches
Silas
ago.
has its own tier. He should be in S+, and everything can be low.
We'll see if they stay this way for live, but I think those don't need much explanation. And Set similarly for capping on boards and just the impact he has in the very, very late game. It's not just so much when you first find 5 costs, like early stage 5, it's more, I think, looking at like stage 6 and like winning out.
In terms of, and this is a raw power of the unit. Like, ignore trade. Like, you like itemizing Hui as like a primary carry, it's a suicide. You just die. Like, this unit doesn't, like, it can be itemized as a 4th carry or 3rd carry. Like if you need some splash damage on the board. But like trying to itemize this unit before, like you should just trade him as a unit printer. You're gonna play him on your stage 4, or if you're healthy, you're gonna play him on stage 5. But you should not itemize this guy.
Similar for Lissandra. I think I'm not so much around animation, but around her impact. She's good, yes, at doing certain things, but not so much.
Okay. It's one of the best units you can play in like 6 porcelain board. It's premium there. But like outside of the certain comps, and it's good at capping, like let's say in the certain 4 Arcanist boards. But like most of the time, if you find Lissandra, like it's nothing crazy. Like if you find Wukong on the other side, like you're gonna play it most of the time on almost every board because how crazy of a buff to your ult it gives you gold Augment worth.
And with an asterisk that Alan has been only going fast 9 every single game he's played in PvE. He hasn't rerolled once, I believe. So a lot of these tier lists will be going around the idea of how quickly do I make it to 9 and how do I win a game if I get there. Keep it in mind. The tier list.
That's always true in PvE, though.
Yeah.
And the early ladder.
But we're playing in houses which I think are really high level compared to the normal PvE.
Challenger lobbies.
Yeah, it's all challenger.
Yeah, but it's also true in like early ladder as well, because there's too much like variance in strength on stage 4, so you can get to level 9 easier.
People are making like much worse board in stage 4.
To be truthfully, now it's better to roll on 8. Like the power level, the reason why the fast 9 was so strong, because Rakan was over buffed. Right now, that buff was taken away, and they over buffed 4 costs. Like Kayn, like Sylas. There is a lot of power in the 4 costs right now. Ashe, Syndra, those units are very good. So like it's roll on 8 most of the time, unless you are very stable and you can afford to go 9. And with like Giga HP lead.
Okay.
And people are better now. Like even if it's like world class players, the first days of PvE that we're building, myself included, I was well, I think even now I'm just only rerolling. But now I think everyone knows what the broken units are. It's more clear. So we're building way better boards. Stage 4 you can get away with going 9, even 10 in many games the first 2 days of PvE. At least like for Alan and players that were having that play style. But yeah, I think, and like a lot of units that were super impressive early, if you haven't played the last 2 days, maybe surprising, like Rakan and Lee Sin, they got nerfed substantially, so they're not as strong as they were. As oppressively strong, Rakan was always in S+++ tier for the most of the days of PvE, but the last 2 days, not so much. Moving on to the next tier list, and that's going to be items. Another exciting one. I cannot wait.
But isn't this just a copy pasta from other items? What's so interesting about the new ones?
Or no, it's
the champions that they made.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's ranking the strength of the items in the meta or like in this set, basically.
I'm about to get flamed so hard.
Let's go.
Bring it on, bitch.
I already
This looks exactly like the set 10 tier list, no?
Pretty similar.
Gargoyle wasn't that. I mean, after buffs, it got better. But the Gargoyle, this set is absolutely probably the best item you can make on 2-1.
That was the case in set 10 as well, yeah, in the last few patches.
Snoody, do you have different takes on the items, given you played a decent amount with us the in-houses?
No, not really. I agree on Infinity as like being D tier because there's not any interesting crit damage multipliers, and all the important champions that need crit already have it built in their abilities, right? Like Kayn or Reapers overall. It's really interesting to me that all these shred mechanics are just not interesting because all the champions pretty much have either shred or you don't need it because you have percentage damage reduction, right, on the defensive traits. So it's not really worth anything. But that's curious because they were insta-slammed last set and not anymore. Even Shot is probably, one of the worst items.
To give some background to this, like let's say you have like 3 components, you're gonna still slam IE for tempo at 2-1 to present a threat and to upkeep the pressure of the tempo lobby. But like this is the tier list, like when you don't go on carousel to pick like a glove to make IE as a first pick. Like this is the items you are not pursuing to make. Like on opposite to S, which you are looking forward to make.
Yeah, slams basically. It's especially early game, the happiness you have with slamming these specific items and in terms of like their strength at that moment, but also their scaling strength into late game and relevance basically on
and item economy is also taken a part of this. That's why like red buff is in S tier because like it just utilizes the bow pretty efficiently. If you have like the usage of like if you need to use a rod or belt elsewhere, especially for frontline, like crown guard plus warmog, for example. And you have a spare bow, and you can go for the red buff to make the backlane. And red buff is pretty solid on units like Aphidios and Irelia. It's beast for some carries. It's very good like on Azir, like the champions that need desperately attack speed, and they can use the multiplier plus anti-heal.
Looking at blue buff, Alan, is it just What is the idea behind blue buff being S tier?
The blue buff is pretty solid because there is a lot of it's insane late game on Wukong, which like on every board you kind of want to feed Wukong, but it's also very good on like the item the holders early on and the transitions. It's very good on Kog, it's very good on Teemo, it's very good on Syndra. You have holders for the blue buff across all the from 1 to 5 cost, and all of those are premium units on the current patch on PvE. And the reason why Guisto is an it's because it's the best item to slam on stage 2 for tempo, and there is so many premium units that utilize that item very well. Like if you slam Rageblade, you initially can look forward to play either snipers. There are 2 snipers that uses like Ashe, it's premium on Ashe, and then it's acceptable on Aphelios. It's very good on carries like the Azir, it's very good on Irelia, it's very good on Xayah if you happen to play her. But if you are the problem with the Guisto is if you itemize backlane AD carries and you happen to find Kai'Sa, it's unplayable on her. So like you have to make sure, but you can slap it on units like Soraka. Every unit that has a fast cast and doesn't get any mana locked, it's good on.
We have one chatter known as Demacian Raptor, actually maybe the only mod on my Twitch channel, who says Guinsoo is the worst item in the game. What do you have to say to a player like that?
I mean, I need to see an argument why. Like I can't argue just an empty take that's cooked.
That's the summary. Anything else?
I just explained you why. It has good item economy.
No, I'm not saying
like there is and it's a great multiplier to the attack speed on stage 2. Like you get if you have bow rod opener, you're gonna usually slam it on 2-1. It's good on the Caitlyn, it's good on Kog, it's good on Zyra, it's good on Sivir. Like all the units that you are buying early on, it has a great benefit on.
Why is Shojin not S tier? You don't think Shojin is as good as these items? Considering its relevance on so many different units in the set in late game?
Yeah, I think it's good because like the frontline, like the fights are not very explodey. There is a lot of sustained fights, and like if you get to the like in terms of scaling, Rageblade, Gunblade, Archangel is still very powerful combo you can play. And if you pair it up with beefy frontline like we have right now, Illaoi, Ornn, not so much set, but Udyr gives you so much time. That the Rageblade you can actually take the benefit of. Like once you get to like 10 stacks, after 10 stacks it starts outperforming red buff. So like
I think Rageblade always go through this story arc where on PvE and around the ladder it seems broken because people don't like perfectly balance out their frontline and backline, and then people like the Demacian Raptor go and say it's trash because it's not best in slot on any of your favorite carries. And then by the end of the set, people realize that the early tempo is way too important and it's S tier anyway. So I feel like the Demacian Raptor is trying to be ahead of the curve, but actually he just landed himself into the worst middle of the curve.
Trends are cyclical, and what Skipaeus is saying. So Raptor, you caught yourself in the middle of the set, but we're already thinking about the World Championship where Skipaeus will become champion, slamming Rageblade at 2-1 every single game.
Yes.
I will like to see Alan, of course, backing up all these claims in the PB tournament. It'll be a nice, clear indicator. And I do say Alan has spent a lot of time. So I would advise, there's some, I think Annie, you haven't played a lot. I'm not agree with what Annie was as a unit, but from what I've seen in your streams. But overall, Alan has played, I guarantee you, way more games than most of the chatters combined. So I think he knows something that others might not.
But I mean, just because of many games doesn't mean I'm not awful. Like
also true.
Learning.
And we did a tier list literally in 15 minutes. All of these tier lists, and we still have a long more to go with. So there was not that much thought into them, in some cases. Moving on, we're going to be doing Silver Augment. We're doing augments, yes, but we're not going to mention everything. And this is done in 2 minutes.
Can we just move on from the tier list? I mean, if we're going to go through every single mechanic, or what's next after that?
That's it.
It's just
okay.
Item. Yeah, I don't think we are doing
anything that surprises you in a big way. Is there anything that surprises you?
Not really.
I think it's worth to go over S and S tier, perhaps. Just the worst and the best. If you disagree with any of those. Like just the I think some of those shouldn't be in S tier because they are depending if they are at 2-1, 3-2, or 4-2. Clearly, if you see switching gears, sharing keys, carrying on 2-1, you just auto-pick them. Like, there is no much argument behind. Like, they're so powerful, you cannot ignore those. Versus, you're not gonna pick Unified on 2-1 if you see one of those. You're not gonna pick Exiles if you see one of those. Unless it's like Scuttle, when you have infinite resources. Like, it's just, those arguments are too powerful to ignore them. versus a C is just like you always ended up with the Morello or red buff. So like blistering strikes are for me unpickable unless you really didn't get any of those components, but that's a rare case. Pandora, it's pickable, but like there is so many good other silver arguments. It's just worth taking. Recomp is recomp. Like I don't think there is much explanation. And yeah, what do we have here?
It's not the same thing. It's just
Oh no, we zoomed out to see the D tier as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
we had D tier. Oh,
That's funny.
oh
We
yeah,
heard Augment,
this
but-
new one is sometimes pickable. I was missing something. Yeah, the D is you never pick those.
Just the idea behind team building is there like 3-cost rerolls you play with it, or just for tempo?
Which one?
Team
Building.
building.
Oh, team building is good for like Aphelios, Nico reroll if you have hero argument. It's pretty good to pick up if you are rerolling something. Like it's in specific spot when you plan to reroll. But good for something has one spot where you pick it when it's actually good. When it's Yorick and counter. When you have 7 units at 2-1. This is beast.
Okay.
This is absolutely beast.
Downloading all the knowledge. You're gonna regret it in 2 days, Alan.
Moving on to gold augments, just to see if anything is jarringly out of place according to. Well, I already saw most of what Alan picked, so I won't make many comments. But Snooty, if anything is surprising to you, gold augments coming up, and chatters as well. This is the B. We can scroll up maybe first, or we can
So
scroll.
do you guys really think build different is that bad? Is it because you need to hit a lot of units on level 8?
No,
Or-
because traits are too good. I had like multiple build diff spots. I tried to play it. There is actually perfect 8 units for cost you can fit in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's like just they
But it's like really worse than fucking Fortune Crest, man. I mean,
the Fortune Crest is pickable versus build diff is not pickable for me. Like Fortune Crest, I would take for let's see in Econ argument.
okay.
But the problem with the Shen argument, there is also Shen argument. I think it's unpickable because you need to raid you need it to pair up with another argument, which is the raid boss. The problem with it, like Behemoth buff, only lasts a certain 5 seconds, which makes it very bad. Like because you lose the buff, it's a stacking champion, and like the way the raid boost behaves, the argument armor and MR stays permanently throughout the fight. That's why this argument is bad, because you just lose the damage after 5 seconds. And like you need to have like some sort of stacking like Rage Blade on the Shen for it to perform. And it's just like it's too slow.
So what do you think is the best hero augment, by the way? Probably Yori carrying, I guess? Or
So far I had the most success, and I've seen other people have more success with Nico. Nico can beat legendary boards. If you don't have enough backlane damage, Nico does very well.
And
you like the
tiers?
the prize fighter, isn't that the one that gives you a component every 3 wins?
Yes.
But that in comparison to like the one that gave you 3
I
components,
think it gives you initial component, if I'm not mistaken.
it doesn't. At least it didn't before, because I played it yesterday.
Maybe I've misremembered it. If it doesn't, then it's worse than I thought.
Also, Snooty was picked it like escort quest. You only pick it from a spot where like you're gonna guarantee it, right?
Yeah, when you have literally naughty board, you pick it.
But you need to win at least 9 fights to get the same amount of
It does
components.
give a component at the start.
It does now, okay.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
it was changed. Yeah, this was all this was done after the recent patch.
Okay,
That's
that
why
makes sense.
the
Yeah.
augments are different. Stand United, very strongest set. Just if you see it
Sure.
in your PB tournament, pick it. It's just completely broken with how the traits work in the late game, especially with how many horizontals we have compared to verticals. Epoch's still very strong.
Pay attention to what if you pick Stand United, it's worth checking out which champions has double scaling. Like last set, it was Akali had the best double scaling. This set, Aphelios 3 has really good scaling with both AP and AD. So like it's worth checking which units have that double scaling as Akali last set when you pick Stand United.
Gargantua Resolve, a lot of good users this set as well.
Yes.
Much better than it was the 10, in my opinion.
Epoch still broken.
Epoch's still broken, correct. And now the Prismatics.
Yeah, D tier. Any disagreements?
Is it the 2-4-1 bad now because you can't buy
It was
4
changed.
cost?
Yeah,
because you, okay.
only 3 costs and under.
Okay.
And
Omega broken.
Fortune Crown, keep in mind, for those who don't know, it gives you Sunfire Cape.
Nice.
Yeah, not good for Forge. Yeah, most of the crowns, why they're so low, not all of them, but a lot of them is because the items, in my opinion, don't really do enough. I think, what was it? I give Sunfire as well? Fated, right?
Fated gives Sunfire as well.
Yeah, which is...
That's why Fated would be way higher if it had a better item. Like if they give it GS or like something, like then it goes to 8, literally. It's really good, but needs a better item, not a Sunfire.
You guys don't like the Trash to Treasure one? It feels like a better version of what the Forge.
With the mechanic that you can actually reforge artifacts once.
Yeah, because you can do a full component.
I think that's going to stay for launch. It's not.
Where did I put it? I put it in the B. It gets better the later you put. This is for 2. It's better 2-1, but later you pick it, the better it becomes. It's not good at 2-1.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I imagine it's same as it with the Forge rules, where exactly. You need like 4 extra components from augments, and that it's insane.
And you have if you have more items overall, then you have the agency to sale. It'll be better in this spot, basically.
Yeah.
Any other big surprises here for anyone?
Any argument on S tier? Pumping. I think I value highly pumping. This argument.
What are you playing with? I mean, what's your game plan? Are you picking 2-1?
Really anything. Like the same reason Rageblade is good. Because attack speed is very good on so many units this set. Like just that's why the tiny but badly is insane for me.
Yeah,
it's I see this argument is not to pick.
Yeah, the one it's like the one that Yi did back then, right? That your units were just like printing out attacks and mana.
Yeah.
You were like smurfing in one of our lobbies with tiny but delete today with a shit board.
Yeah.
I don't know what shit board.
Yeah, like it's absolutely insane. The like attack speed scaling arguments for whole team. That's why I will rate Wukong so highly, because it's as well a attack speed scaling for your whole team. If you get to 2-star Wukong, it's suddenly 20%, like almost 20% attack speed for whole team with another heavenly.
What has been your experience with Call to Chaos? Is there a loot table
for
this?
I've never gotten anything but gold. They buffed the 50 gold to 66. That's what I can tell. I've heard you can get 4 different emblems, and I've heard you can get 3 cost unit, 3-star. 3 cost 3-star.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
And I don't know if there is a table. And I don't know what's else there.
What do you guys think about the fact that you can get the Wandering Trainer Gold and a Prismatic now? It feels kind of weird that only one person has like access to that mechanic. Because sometimes I just see like this, especially the golden one, not that much as Prismatic, but there's like so many 2-version combos that are insta-broken and way superior than the other ones. Like for example,
what was the start of the question? Because I didn't quite
like wandering trainers, because you get like you get to play like your own kind of galaxy. Like you have like a huge advantage.
There are so many traits that you just can fit extra in. Like you get an extra altruist, Dragon Lord, like a Sage. Like it levels up your board so highly, it's just worth picking. Like, and it also can give you an angle to play in uncontested line. Porcelain is insane. Reaper is insane. Ghostly is very good. Like, there's just so many things that can fit the board. And on top of that, if you hit, for example, Arcanist together with Arcanist Augment, then you break the game. Your dummy has 7k HP at the stage 6.
And then with so much more horizontal traits in this set, the impact getting a +1 gives you, in terms of like especially early game, like Alanzq with Dragon Lord, for example, is like so much higher than it would be when there's a lot more vertical sets or vertical traits rather in the set, and I don't think the most dominant like KDA, for example. So this way, obviously allowing to reach like, KDA 10, just have a win condition as well. At least in early game impact, in my opinion.
A lot of those also like they're very good at 2-1. Like, for example, Story Weaver, because they just create so much tempo for you, like, it's gonna spike the average of the argument highly. And stuff like Reaper, Crown, also, like, once you get that Yone, and you get online for Reaper, like, it's so goddamn powerful on the board. You're gonna be win-streaking with 1-star Kindred Yone on stage 3. It's so disgustingly strong. Like, and Porcelain, on the other hand, this one is underwhelming early, but it's so strong late game that like you just cap out board to go first. You hit 60 Porcelain, put it on set, boom, unkillable beast with 3 fated. Or Porcelain Silence is the most broken thing I've seen. I don't think there is.
We're gonna look now. We're gonna look now at the emblem holders.
I see a lot of Silence, okay.
On this last PvE patch, and Silence got, I think, 5 armor reduced from his strength before this last patch came in. And he's a very good emblem holder, Alan. Would you agree?
I mean, six-pack Silas, what can I tell you?
Morgana,
Like,
similar fashion.
Yep.
And legendary, no Udyr. Alan, why do you think this is he just not good enough as an emblem holder, as a unit?
As holder, I mean, I don't rate highly Udyr. He's just a disruption. You get the... Like, if I usually play Udyr only if I need like an extra behemoth and I get him 2-star, then I would replace Ornn. Usually Ornn is just better. He gives you an item, he doesn't dive in, leaving your backlane exposed to like just Silas or Kayn farm you. That's the problem of Udyr. He leaves your backlane exposed. So you need another real front lane. So the problem is if you play both Set and Udyr, they dive in. If the opponent plays a melee carry, that melee carry destroys your backlane, and then goes back and destroys Set and Udyr, because they don't, like, Set can scale with Fated and all AD, but Udyr really doesn't. He loses 1v1 those fights because he's tank. And if you play them together, you have no front lane if you don't have, like, other itemized front lane, like Illaoi or Ornn to pair them together. I don't like Udyr unless...
In the early game with Nico, with her helicopter mechanic, she also, if depending on how you frontline, she can leave you completely exposed. So just be cautious of this as well. There's a few tanks in the game that actually can...
Or not to tank you.
Targeting, yeah. It happened in past sets as well. I don't remember the example now, but it's happened before.
Like, but I think they're drawing away from that, just one main tag that only tanks, right? Because they wanted to be a little bit more creative. Like just not one CC ult and just stand there.
I think it's great. Just to keep it in mind as we go. This could be something that could expose you, basically. And yeah, Wukong strong. Azir strong with duel specifically. I think the most transformative emblems are like the bottom left with Syndra Sniper and Azir Duelist. Other than that, it's mostly just pretty self-explanatory why. They're good in size, it's just he's a very strong unit. Any additions, Alan?
No, that's like the strongest that came to my mind. There is probably more stuff you can play around, but this is just my like initial impression when I think of like if I get a certain emblem, what kind of unit would I like to put it on?
Mm-hmm. And that's the end of the PBE Set 11 Masterclass, which Snoody, I think, did not enjoy at all. But we'll see. I wanted to do it especially because I want to see how this meta reflection from Alan, who's been playing a lot of PBE, and again, I really think more than any other player in the world, considering his schedule last year.
Take this with the grain of the salt, because again, I keep like there is stuff so much to learn.
Yeah,
like
it's
for example,
early set. No one's ever correct.
Completely how broken stage 2 is Thresh Yasuo Ahri, or like Kindred instead of Ahri. But like the Fated, you connect Thresh with Yasuo. After they bug fixed it, it's actually so disgustingly good. It's amazing. And you put on top of the Darius 1. Like, I was looking at this unit today. Darius 1 with one item cleaned whole backline alone. Like, in literally 10 seconds.
I've been telling you, Darius is the beast, and he got buffed. When he got buffed, I was very surprised.
At stage 2.
By the way, we still have to do the other 3 persons, the tier list, right? You have yours, Panda, I have mine. Skipaeus as well, right?
So... I did mine with Alan. If I do tier list, it'll be rerolls, so I'm not sure you were trying to see.
Tristana, Kindred, and Cog. That's your left hand detail.
Whoa. What about Darius reroll? What about... I've played every reroll. If you guys want rerolls, just whisper me on Twitch or message me. I'll give you guys a tech. It might not work.
3 PB games, and one of them was Darius reroll, and it was uncontested 8 in a random...
What patch? What patch? Because he got buffed a lot.
Today.
Okay, well, I don't know what you did. I don't think it's that. I mean, I'm not saying it's strong. Don't get me wrong.
And it was the encounter that made rolls cost 1 gold as well.
Uh-huh.
When did you keep?
And where were you positioning Darius?
Frontline.
Okay. The whole like...
I think you second row it with Umbral. Oh, second or third. So he wraps.
No, you can have on here. I think it depends. Yeah, if you only find the whole game, I think it gets bursted in some street.
I love it,
especially
when we get to the point that the world's best performer in Europe, we're kind of backseeing him at TFT. You know, it's like weird spot we're in at the moment.
I mean, I played 3 games. I read what the like yesterday night, so I'm not very qualified to talk about set 11 just yet.
The problem, like certain rerolls, keep in mind if the units are very strong early, you don't want to reroll them necessarily because they are too contested as item holders, like Kindred. Like Panda tries to reroll Kindred and then Scouts, boom.
No. I pick molts, I decide my spot. Players in a PB and house should respect it. And a certain someone, I'm not going to name any names, picks Twin Terror. He can play a lot of different comps. And he says, you know what? Today's a good day to play Dryas. And he makes me go 8th. So I think it's a viable thing.
But isn't that welcome to TFT like? I mean, just hit better than him, man. I mean, just TFT.
That's true. It's worked out mostly. Believe me, the first 2 days of scrims, I was popping off. The last 2, not so much. I'm gonna cut my results and not use those in the stats. But that's a set 11 masterclass. We'll see it reflected in the PB tournament. I wanted to do this mostly as a way to look back and say, oh, let's see how wrong or right Alan was, and then allow chat to also either catch up on the meta and copy some homework, or to have their own hot takes around what's right or wrong. And then we'll be posted on Twitter somewhere, I think. Not sure where yet.
In terms of, I'll call now strongest opener right now. I learned it today. Yasuo, Ari or Kindred, Thresh, Darius, and Yorick. Those 5 units. Best opener I've played so far.
Take notes, chat. Make sure you know what's up, and remember to play Silas on your late game boards. And roll on 8s. No more going past 9. Not allowed anymore.
You see Silas, pick Silas.
Exactly. That'll be it for this podcast episode. We had a lot to cover, a lot of different topics, and 2 different sets as well, the end of set 10 and the start of set 11. Thank you so much, Skipaeus, for joining us. It was really nice having your insight. I think you're a player that has one of the most unique playstyles, but also unique personalities in EMEA. So I'm glad I was able to talk to you for almost 3 hours. So I got my buck for sure, what I bargained for. And Snoody and you as well. Always great to have you on the show. Hopefully we see you back in EMEA finals. We saw you in set 8s. Is it time? Is the return of Snoody?
I'm not sure I'm going to try hard that much.
Oh, no.
I'm a content creator now, man. It's easier.
Okay. Well,
Influencer mode.
I'm joining you in that boat as well. I will be streaming the Wild Rumble ladder race, and I will be, this time for real, doing TFT content. In a few weeks, you guys will know the more definitive plans around, what my time might look like. So stay tuned for more. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And we'll see you in the first episode of set 11, probably like in a month, previewing GSC number 1. Maybe something before that for Leipzig, but we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.